Morning, everybody. And Paula, we did not coordinate it. It just happened.
That's not true. We did coordinate it. We texted yesterday about what we were going to wear for the entire week.
Said Miller and Moulton never. Exactly, Tim.
I don't know if he should have been ejected for the hit. It should have been a penalty. Let's slow down with let's eject someone for every hit. It's effing hockey, for crying out loud. Let's slow down with the ejections.
It should have been a 2-minute penalty.
Wouldn't have mattered. Tampa wouldn't have scored on it anyhow.
Yeah, really. Might not have gotten a shot off.
Can't blame that call. They got 2 goals after that, took the lead. We'll get into it. It's not about that call, though.
I don't know. Canada Relief, probably 24, of which I probably wear 10.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Final Tuesday of April. Hope your week got off to a good start yesterday. Thanks for being with us. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. How are you, Mark?
You know, I'm all right. I mean, I had a good day yesterday, no real complaints. But last night did not go the way I wanted it to go. Not in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
The Lightning blew it, and that series now is on the brink of being over. And I was really hoping for a long, long series, and it still could happen, but it looks as if Florida has a complete stranglehold on the Tampa Bay Lightning.
You were about 4 minutes away from a long series.
I know. And truth be told, it's hard for me to admit this, given the feelings I had about this team when I was a much younger man. But because I know the coach of the Colorado Avalanche, and I've known him for many, many years, and he has arguably the best hair in sports right now. Nobody can touch Jared Bednar's hair. I mean, he had good flow when he played, but I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and he says, if you remember, you know, Bedsy used to get the fingers through the hair a lot early going. Now the hair doesn't even move. If you see any interviews with Bedsy on the bench, that hair doesn't move. And that great salad and really good team was let down by their goaltender yesterday And now Dallas takes a 3-2 lead in that series while I'm pulling for the Avs. And I think that series will produce who represents the Western Conference in the Stanley Cup Finals. I just wanted the night to go a little differently. And I invested a lot of time in the night last night. I was up until the third period of Dallas, Colorado. And it didn't go the way I wanted. So I enjoyed the hockey. Neither game turned out the way I was hoping for. And for those of you that watched the association, you had to stay up until well after midnight to see the conclusion of what was a great game. But the first one was all of the reasons why some of you hate the association.
Woo-wee. You know, Mark, you used the Q word yesterday, and that's a strong word. Okay. You said, I think the Heat have quit. And if they haven't already, they will tonight, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, come on. The Heat aren't going to quit, but they're going to lose and they ain't going to cover. Can you lose by 55 and not quit?
And be down by 60 at different points in the game.
My goodness.
That was as bad of an effort. And what was this? You know, the stat line on Hero, he shot the ball just terribly.
I think
he was a
1%
minus 44 on the floor.
Apparently, no team has beaten another team by as many points in a 4-game series as the Cavs just did to the Heat. It was the biggest butt whooping in a 4-game series in NBA history. I will say the last 2 games in Miami. My goodness.
Yeah, 138-83 if you weren't paying attention.
That's double nickel right there. They won by double nickel.
So a terrible first game, a really good second game that I couldn't make it for. It was halftime around 20 after 11, if memory serves me right. It's like, that's enough. I can't do this anymore.
Right. But Jimmy Buckets played, and we came to the conclusion. You like Golden State anyway. I like Golden State if Jimmy Buckets played. Jimmy Buckets played, Golden State won.
And Jimmy Buckets was the reason that Golden State won. Make no mistake.
Yeah. Steph has a Robin.
Yes, he does.
Steph has a playoff Robin.
27 points for Jimmy Buckets coming off of the injury. And made key free throws late. In fact, it was 12 of 12 from the line for the night. And you said it earlier in the series, David, and I noticed it last night. A couple of times in the first half, they're moving the ball around, setting screens, and they can't get Steph open for a 3. And then all of a sudden, as they get down to about 6 in the shot clock, they isolate Jimmy Butler, get him the ball, and Jimmy Butler can get a quality shot off on his own. It makes a huge difference for Golden State when teams like Houston, who play really good defense, D you up for 18 seconds, and you've got a Jimmy Butler to go to who can get a shot off one-on-one against damn near anyone.
That's what Kerr said last week in answer to a question. How are you different with Jimmy Butler than, past, teams, or at least recent teams? And he said, we have a guy that we can isolate. We can just give him the ball and isolate. When we run 4 different screens to get the ball to Steph and it's not working, we can just throw the ball to Jimmy and get out of his way. And he said, we haven't had that. It really since Durant. I mean, is what, which is pre-pandemic also.
So that's a little bit of what went on last night. People are going to complain today about the Ekblad hit that wasn't called on Hagel that knocked him out of the game. It was clearly a 2-minute penalty. I don't think it was anything more than that.
I don't either.
But then again, I didn't think the Hagel interference call was more than a 2-minute penalty. So I'm
Correct.
a little old school when it comes to this.
Also, I mean, I have to admit, I thought the Ekblad hit last night, and by hit, we basically mean a forearm shiver in Hagel's neck, throat, side of his face area. And since he's a bigger guy and he was moving and Hagel wasn't, he knocked him down. And even though Hagel had a helmet on, he hit the back of his head on the ice and he did not return. All right. We'll see. Since Hagel has already been suspended for a hit in this series, Mark, I'll make you a prediction. Even though there was no penalty and it makes the officials look bad and they don't like to do it, to suspend somebody off of something that was not called during the game. But I have a feeling Ekblad's going to be suspended for Game 5.
It'll be interesting. I disagree with one thing you said. I didn't think the forearm shiver was to the neck. It was to the head. Like, I'd argue all day with you on that, and I'm not going to spend 4 hours doing it on the show.
Oh, I thought he got both. I mean, I said the side of his face, but, okay. Yeah, I mean.
It was a shot. It was a shot to the head.
Yeah.
But will they suspend him? That will be interesting to me. They didn't suspend Chuck
right
for the hit on Getzel.
Right.
But there are a couple of reasons why Tampa Bay lost. Tampa Bay did not lose because of a missed call on that hit. If you recall, Tampa then scored 2 times shortly thereafter.
In 11
Thank
seconds.
goodness they weren't on the man advantage because they wouldn't have scored.
No.
Their power play is god awful right now. Awful. They can't get it into the zone, and they don't like to dump and chase to attack the zone. And it's tough to dump and chase against a team that's as physical as Florida. That's tougher than you are. So you want to establish the zone by carrying the puck into the zone. Tampa's having a hell of a time setting up right now. A hell of a time. They did set up on the 5-minute power play in the third period. I mean, remember, for the non-call, they get a 5-minute power play in the third. David, how many shots on goal did they have in that 5-minute power play?
Did they have one?
I don't think they did. Not one shot on goal. And right there, those 5 minutes are why the Tampa Bay Lightning lost the game. Now, it didn't help that Jake Getzel just blindly threw the puck up to the point, giving it away. It was an awful play. Awful. You don't do that in peewee hockey. He could have skated 5 strides. He had no one in front of him when he had the puck. Could have damn near skated the puck out of the zone, certainly taken 2 strides, flipped it off the glass, and got it out. Instead, he just blindly fired it up the wall, and then a shot on goal comes, and Vasilevsky leaves the puck 6 feet in front of him for an easy tap-in rebound goal. No one was there to cover that man. It was a complete defensive breakdown by the Lightning, started with Getzel, ended with Vasilevsky, and the puck's in the back of the net.
But obviously, with a 2-1 lead to start the third, if the Lightning had just scored 1 power play goal, they likely get the horse into the barn with a 3-1 lead the rest of the way. Okay, can I amend my Ekblad suspension prediction? I think someone from the Panthers is getting suspended. Okay, whether it's Ekblad, although the more I think about it, they really don't like to suspend somebody on something that was not even a 2-minute penalty, never mind a major. Like, it was easy for them to suspend Hagel for a game earlier in the series. He got a 5-minute penalty. You and I didn't think he deserved it. We thought it was a 2-minute. All right. But he got a 5-minute penalty. Real easy for the league to then say, and you'll sit tomorrow. Okay. But is it McCullough? Who's the defenseman for Florida? I mean, what a cheap shot. My goodness. Guy on his knees in front of the boards, okay, back to you, and you cross-check his head into the boards. I mean, deserved the 5-minute penalty, deserved the ejection. I think he gets suspended. Because that's an easy
would make
one.
More sense because it was a stick infraction, and the league does love to crack down on stick infractions. And I'm telling you right now, if Ekblad's suspended for that, come on, people. Let's just slow down. It was a 2-minute elbowing call. Wasn't a 5-minute penalty. It's a 2-minute penalty.
I mean, this is the playoffs. I mean, this is the playoffs. So, I do think we need to put it in its proper perspective. So, Draisaitl did the same thing, by the way, to Barkov mid-third period of Game 7 last year in the finals that Ekblad did to Hagel. They didn't call a penalty. So, but if you're complaining about the officiating, you're making excuses. Let's be honest. And so if you're a Lightning fan and you're arguing about calls and no calls, you're overlooking the fact that game was yours and you threw it away.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Defining a new era in men's health. Get stronger and healthier at Game Day Men's Health. With our in-house laboratory, get in, get treated, and get back to your passion and purpose. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs or Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for a 10% discount on your service. Start living your best with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. David Samson, Pat Kirwan, Scott Jackson to join us on the show today. I got to admit, you know me, Mark. This is my soft side. This is along the lines of that side that I have where every fan base deserves a parade.
Okay.
Now, you don't deserve more than one, okay, but you deserve a parade in your lifetime. Everything after that is, gravy. But man, if you've been a Washington Redskins / Commanders fan, it's been rough for most of the last 25, 30 years. I mean, it's been rough. I mean, you got a bad owner. You had one of the 5 worst in sports, and he helped run your franchise into the ground. And then he moved you from the place where you loved playing, where you were highly successful, into a stadium which was panned from the minute it opened. And, I mean, doesn't look like a dump necessarily, but walk around it, it is. And it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's not convenient. And so just everything about being a fan, the product wasn't good, where they played wasn't good. You had no conviction that the owner was going to get out of the way even to allow you to become decent again. And now, I mean, it's tough to find an 18-month period of time in which a fan base has had a better run. I mean, I wish every fan base, and there's no championship yet, and there may not be one. But man, Mark, I mean, for all the time and effort and money and sweat and what have you, and the occasional tear that we put into this whole fandom thing, man, it's got to be nice when all of a sudden you turn around and 25 blankety blank years and the next 18 months can go by and it's kind of like, did those years even happen? Wow.
Well, and your comment that these years even happen rings truest to me when you talk about a franchise that's had all of the success that the Washington football franchise has had, be it a long time ago.
Right.
They were
20th century.
incredibly successful.
Yeah. 70s, 80s, 90s.
People of our age can look at it and remember fondly all of the greatness. When you start talking about, that team, I immediately think of all the teams that haven't even had the greatness and just all of the bad. The Cleveland Brown fans listening to you right now going, like, I give a damn about Washington turning it around.
Well, but I bring it up to try to create, and it may be a false sense of hope, and if so, I'm sorry. But I bring it up because it can happen. Jim Lampley's famous line when George Foreman knocked out Michael Moore, it happens. It happens. And it really can happen.
But it won't in many places because there's one key component, the key component that happened in Washington. They got a new owner.
Yeah.
And unless someone at the top knows what they're doing, the Lions fan out there looks at when finally this Ford took over and she did things completely differently than they had done them for the last half century in that city with their football team. Right. And it's amazing. All of a sudden, when the owner figures it out, well, it's easier for the team to get things done. And there are so many franchises out there right now with bad ownership that it's hard, I think, when you try to spin it for other teams, I think it's hard for a lot of fan bases out there to go, yeah, I don't know if that can happen to us with the regime we have running our franchise.
No, I get it. I get it. And let's face it, the regimes don't change very often. I mean, who gives up if you own one of these major North American franchises? I mean, granted, it's worth more every day that you own it. It's another reason not to get rid of it. I'm thinking of selling. But then again, by Friday, it'll be worth more. So how about if I hold on to it for another week?
Think about if you're an Angels fan. And I know we don't have any listening right now. And I'm not trying to, we don't need to spend a lot of time talking about them, but they've been teased now for seemingly, 5 years of Artie Moreno going to sell that team, and he never does. If you're a diehard fan of that team, it's a gut punch every time he says, I'm not going to sell it.
Right. I can't find a buyer. What do you mean you can't find a buyer? There's supposedly people with their hands raised in the air everywhere. There's only 30 of these suckers. What do you mean you can't get rid of them?
Think about the Rays fan that desperately wants Stu Sternberg to sell the team. There are no guarantees, by the way, if he sells the team, that the team part of it will be run as well as it's run right now. He's a mess. Their front office is fantastic.
Right. Now, your hope is that if Stu sells, he sells to someone like Josh Harris, who's the primary owner of the Commanders, who walked in with a bunch of money. And now in his case, he hired the right people and has stayed out of the way. If, let's just say, Miller and Moulton bought the Rays tomorrow, we don't have to hire anybody. We just need to bring our wallet to the conversation. We need to build a stadium, and we need to build it in Tampa, Hillsborough County. Let's sit down and see if we can do this. But so in 18 months' time, new ownership, they draft a franchise quarterback, and they haven't had one of those in over 40 years. It's 40 years this November that Theismann's leg was broken on Monday Night Football. Mark Rippon had a year. RG3 had a year. Hopefully, the current Washington quarterback's going to have more than what he had last year. Miller and Moulton thinks he's a star. So new ownership, a franchise quarterback, and you can't compete without one. And oh, by the way, a franchise quarterback in the NFC, where they seemingly have fewer of them than they do on the other side. Oh, yeah. And now the owner is going to shell out nearly $3 billion to build a state-of-the-art stadium on the grounds of where you guys had all your success in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Honestly, I want every fan base to have, even if it doesn't lead to a parade, even if it doesn't lead to a trophy. Mark, what have we said? There's winning and there's hope. And he gave them hope, and now he's helped produce winning, and it looks as if they're going to be competitive for the next 10 years.
And they're coming back to D.C., and the entire fan base never wanted them to leave.
Right. So, and we could list there's 120 plus major North American sports franchises. It'd be a sobering list if we started mentioning the franchises who we think were in a similar state to where the Washington Commanders were 18 months ago.
Sounds like you have an assignment during the commercial break. Maybe not just getting ready for the starting five, but going through franchise by franchise.
No, don't want to do it, because then, see, I've done this before. You know what I end up doing? I end up depressing our audience. And you end up chastising me. You go, we're supposed to entertain. We're supposed to make people feel good about this journey that they're on. You're depressing the hell out of them. Stop it.
David Samson will join us in 30 minutes' time. Pat Kirwan, to recap the draft, and we will go to Washington and talk to Scott Jackson. The starting five is next.
Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David
Mark
Moulton.
Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has the look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower is so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
This is Miller and Moulton.
So a couple that I went to high school with. Now I went to their high school for one semester, but they're from my town. Know them, reasonably well. Their son played at Grand Valley State. He signed an undrafted free agent with the Lions. I thought that was pretty cool.
Totally. Oh, now you guys are coming around on the parking.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes until David Samson joins us at the top of the hour. Pat Kirwan to join us at the top of the 8 a.m. Eastern hour. Scott Jackson a couple hours from now. That's our lineup. On my daughter's birthday.
Happy birthday, daughter.
28.
Sure, she's saying, don't call me daughter. Not meant to.
I don't even know if she's familiar with the song.
That's a you problem. That's not a her problem. That's
she
really
was. I know. She was. Okay. She went through her, her rock phase. All right. About 10 years ago, in which that's all she was listening to. But I may try that on her later. All right.
It's I hope you do. Saturday my wife worked, and as I'm getting my daughter breakfast ready, I'm like, you know what I need some music this morning, and I need to listen to an album. Sometimes I just put my music on and I put it on random and it plays. I'm like, I'm in the mood for a start to finish album. I'm gonna listen to The Wall by Pink Floyd.
Okay.
That's what I'm in the mood for. And I played it loud. 9 a.m, letting that baby rip. 9:30. And my daughter, I bring her down for breakfast. She looks at me and she says, "What is that, Dad?"
And did you go all old man on her? Did you go, that's music, honey? Okay. That's the stuff. They still play my stuff on the radio. They're not going to play your stuff on the radio if there is radio, all right, 30, 40 years from now.
I did, and I made her listen because Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, which was the most popular song and reached #1 when I was in 5th grade. My daughter is in 5th grade. I said, this was the #1 song. My parents bought me this album for Christmas, to which she responded, What's an album?
Oh, I know. Oh.
Yep. But I did throw exactly at her what you said. I said, Taylor Swift's big. Don't get me wrong. She is a megastar, but in pop, there have been megastars, and they don't always last forever. All I can tell you is that these songs are still played and liked by people 50 years later.
And there's still many a concert from those days, too. And you should see what they're charging for them and getting it.
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the Starting Five.
Well, I'm going to start with the NFL because I think it's a happy story. The Commanders and our nation's capital unveiled plans, drawings for what will be a $4 billion stadium. It will have a clear roof, clear side views of our nation's capital, 65,000 seats. Opening day of the NFL season in 2030 is their goal. So 5 years from now, the Commanders said they will put forward $2.7 billion towards the price tag. They're asking the District of Columbia to come up with a little over $1 billion. It needs city council approval. Of course, I don't know how you don't approve this. The commissioner all but said yesterday, we will give you a Super Bowl. The Eagles, not too far from where the Commanders had their presser, visited the White House yesterday. Most of the Eagles, not all. All right. But, President Trump, by the way, endorsed the tush push, which needless to say went over pretty big in the room, as they say. Browns do not pick up the fifth-year option on whatever string quarterback you think Kenny Pickett's going to be this year. They did, however, sign wide receiver Deontay Johnson to a one-year deal. Steelers signed wide receiver Robert Woods 1 year, $2 million. And speaking of wide receivers, we mentioned this yesterday. How could they not be interested? Turns out they are. The Cowboys are talking with Amari Cooper. He'll be 31 next month. They desperately need a number 2 receiver. Hell, they may also need a number 3 receiver if you look at their depth chart. So they're talking with Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper is your wide receivers. That might work.
Can't be worse than what they have right now, David.
No. NHL, a wild one in Sunrise. Tampa Bay scored 2 goals 11 seconds apart in the latter part of the second period to take a 2-1 lead. That was after there was a violent hit by Florida Panthers defenseman Aaron Ekblad on Lightning sensational forward Brandon Hagel. Hagel did not return. The hit was to Hagel's head. The Lightning were incensed that there was not a penalty. So were Messier and Piquet Subban, by the way, after the period in the ESPN studios. But the Lightning scored twice immediately after the non-call, took a 2-1 lead to the third, and then 13 seconds into the third period, got a 5-minute power play. 1 goal is going to get it done. Series will be tied. Lightning did bupkis. Nada. Panthers had a goal disallowed. Correct call. Play was offsides by 5 feet. But then Aaron Ekblad, who delivered the hit, who scored the tying goal that was taken off the board, he kept the puck in at the point, passed it, went to the front of the net, and buried the juicy rebound from Vasilevsky to tie the game at 2. And then 11 seconds later, somehow, some way, a throw-it-on-net wrister from 55 feet got past Vasilevsky to win the game. Panthers add an empty netter, 4-2 the final. They lead the series 3-1. Game 5 tomorrow night at Amalie Arena in Tampa. Now, 2 years ago, the Panthers were down 3-1 on the road and won 3 straight from Boston when Boston was the best team in the East. Maybe the Lightning can return the favor, but 2 things are going to have to happen. First off, they're going to have to start scoring on the power play. And secondly, Vasilevsky is going to have to start being Vasilevsky again. I mean, those 2 goals he gave up yesterday, I mean, that rebound was a joke. Okay, and then the game-winning goal, my goodness. I know it was a bit fluky, but that just can't end up in the back of the net. Especially when you've got one of the 3 finalists for the Vezina on your team. Hallebuck, Kemper, and Vasilevsky named yesterday the Vezina finalists. Dallas scored 9 seconds into the game against Colorado. Weird play. Dallas dumped it in. Colorado acted like there was a whistle and the play was offsides. So Dallas chased it down, fired a shot on net, and somehow went in. Wyatt Johnston had the goal. He had one other. Stars beat the Avs 6-2 to lead that series 3-2. There are 4 playoff games tonight. 4. The 2 in the East, the home teams can clinch with a win. Toronto against Ottawa, Carolina against Jersey. Meanwhile, out west, before Dallas and Colorado dropped the puck last night, all 4 Western Conference series were 2-2. So Vegas hosts Minnesota and LA hosts Edmonton with those series tied at 2. Penguins and Mike Sullivan part ways. He had been there a decade. He was their head coach when they won their last 2 Stanley Cups. Problem is they've won only 1 playoff series since they won the 2016 and 2017 Stanley Cups. Mike Sullivan now becomes the overwhelming favorite for the Rangers job because he and the Rangers GM Chris Drury are best buds. Not that people hire for those reasons or anything.
And the NHL, nobody retreads coaches more than the National Hockey League.
NBA, worst possible news for Damian Lillard, who turns 35 in July. Torn left Achilles. Obviously done for this year, but since the injury happened in late April, a good chunk of next year is very much in doubt. Also, never mind the fact he's coming back from this in his mid-30s. Makes you wonder whether or not Giannis is going to want to stick around in Milwaukee this offseason.
That's a great point, David. And like you said, Lillard will try to come back, but there are no guarantees at his age that we'll ever see anything close to what he was again.
The Heat quit. The Cavs beat them by 55, 138-83 to complete the 4-game sweep. Cleveland with 22 threes. They shot 60%. Golden State held off Houston, 109-106. Jimmy Buckets with 27, and a lot of them down the stretch. Golden State's up 3-1 in that series. 4 NBA playoff games tonight. In the East, Knicks and Celtics, both up 3-1, both at home, trying to wrap up their series against Detroit and Orlando. Indiana's at home, up 3-1 against Milwaukee. And Denver and LA tied at 2, Game 5 in Colorado. Baseball. You know, the Marlins are playing hard. They're playing a lot better than their roster said that they would, quite frankly. They were down 5-0 to the Dodgers, forced extra innings and took a 6-5 lead in the 10th. Dane Myers came off the bench, had a pinch hit slam. Problem is, Tommy Edman had a 2 RBI game-winning single at the bottom of the 10th. Dodgers 7-6 over Miami. Brandon Nimmo had a day yesterday. Hell, he had a month yesterday. 2 homers and 9 RBIs. Mets 19-5 over the Nats.
19-5. And I know they scored, but they were up, I want to say, 15 spit before Washington scored 5 in the bottom of the 7th or 8th or whatever it was. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was in double figures. I know that. Orioles, we said, this is a big series against the Yankees for Baltimore. They're in last. Ryan O'Hearn with a 3-run homer. They held off New York 4-3. Twins have won 4 in a row. They beat Cleveland 11-1. Houston with 4 in the 7th beat first place Detroit 8-5. The Braves are 2 games under 500. They doubled up Colorado 6-3. Rockies have lost 7 straight. They are 4-24 on the season. That's a 143 winning percentage.
Apparently, the Rockies did not like the attention the White Sox received last year for how poorly they played, and they said, we can one-up you.
And they are. Because if you prorate this sucker out, where you're winning 1 out of every 7, you do know that means you have 23 wins with 1 game left in the season. 23 is the pace they're on right now. They're on a 23-139 pace. Oakland edged Texas 2-1. Both teams are 15-14 on the year. And I know I called them Oakland. What are we supposed to do? Just call them the A's? Ath? What are you, Sacramento? Vegas? What do you want me to call them?
The Athletics.
Okay. Reds, 5th straight win. This one over the Cardinals, 3-1.
Let's go Reds.
Cincy 3 games over 500. Trying to have Miller and Moulton win their over-under bet. Way to go, boys. College football news, and it's good news for the Gators. Star quarterback DJ Lagway has resumed throwing. He played in the spring game, but he handed the ball off 5 times. He didn't throw. He hasn't thrown all spring until now. He's working it back up. They say he'll be 100% in June. What, him, Nussmeier? Two best quarterbacks in the SEC? I mean, seriously, how many quarterbacks in the SEC right now would you take over Lagway?
The only one, the kid in South Carolina.
Okay.
I mean, and I'm not saying I'd take him above him, but that's the only other name I'd throw in the mix.
And
right
Lagway's going to be a sophomore.
Yeah.
So, Dick Barnett, Hall of Famer, was part of the Knicks teams that won the 70 and 73 NBA titles. If you are ever in Madison Square Garden for a sporting event or a concert, and you look up into the rafters and you see a Knicks jersey number 12, and you go, who is that? That is Dick Barnett, who is a very smooth lefty shooting guard on their last two championship teams. He passed away at the age of 88. And at 8 minutes before the hour, that was the starting five. 5 big stories and a silky smooth left-handed jump shooter here on Miller and Moulton.
It's tough to be silky smooth and left-handed.
Yep.
Because lefties always look a little bit off. And that's coming from someone who grew up with his father being left-handed, who admitted they just, throwing, shooting, the left-handed batter looks smooth. The left-handed batter would be the smoothest lefty to me. But
I agree. Right. Their swings, the lefty batter, their swings look smooth. And we won't even get into Ken Griffey Jr., whose swing might have been the best of all time. David Samson is next. Miller and Moulton.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Morning, David.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I am good.
Stayed up entirely too late watching sports last night, but that's all right.
It's that time of year.
It is.
Don't worry, you only have till June.
Exactly.
I can't believe the end of that Panthers game.
Stunned.
Yep.
I wanted a 7-game series. I was rooting for me. I just wanted a long one. I don't know if we're going to get that now. I think that took the
You
air.
still may.
They might.
It's a tough loss, but Tampa is not going to quit.
No,
they're not going to be like the Miami Heat.
Oh my goodness.
A total quit job while Pat Riley was watching.
Right. Tyler Hero was minus 44 last.
Well, the way he was just chucking balls from 40 feet like an
and
idiot.
not playing defense.
Nope. It was I would trade him.
Well, that was what the question was going into the series of that. The people we brought on from the Heat are like, all right, let's see if we can build this with Bam and Hero. And I don't know if you can.
I don't either. Adding Durant to that is not going to make
That's not going to do anything.
And they don't have enough to add Giannis. I would trade Giannis for Bam though, and anybody else.
Yes. Whatever the package is, I'm in.
Right. Because the Bucks are going to have to trade him.
Especially with Lillard now.
Yep.
Possibly done.
He may be done.
I mean,
fully done.
36 coming back from that. There's no guarantees.
Nope. Durant did it, but Durant's a special kind of special. Look at David, all piped up and prepped up and ready to roll.
No,
bless you. Bless you.
Thank you.
How you feeling?
Not good.
Well, we'll try to distract you for 13 minutes.
Well, got 12 distractions over the course of 4 hours. And how you doing?
Seconds.
I'm doing okay. I've been up for a very long time.
Oh.
Do
So
you
I'm ready for
sleep
lunch.
during the day? Because I know you don't sleep
I
at all.
do
You
not.
take the occasional nap, or you
Never.
just you run on 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep every day.
At most, yeah.
Son of a gun, man. Good for you. Or bad for you. I don't know how you want to take
I
it.
think it's pretty much bad for me, but I can't stop. I'd like to try to stop. Just not today.
What if they could move nothing personal to like noon? Would that help?
No, I'm up anyway. It would drive me crazy
So
to
you
have
don't
the
think-
anxiety of doing the show at noon.
Gotcha.
I love early shows. I love spending the day sort of prepping the next day and thinking about what I'm going to do the next day. Don't you love your time slot or no?
I
hate it.
do. He hates it.
Hate it.
Interesting.
Now, don't get me wrong. For 20 minutes when the show's done, I like it. But no, hate it.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday, the final one of April, and that means, well, David Samson. You know him, host of the award-winning Nothing Personal with David Samson. He records it live 59 minutes from now, and then it re-airs in its entirety at 9 a.m. and then again at 10 a.m. on the DraftKings Network. You can follow David on X at David, the letter P, Samson, David P. Samson. Top of the morning to you. How are you?
And to you too. Isn't that what I'm supposed to say? Did I get it close? God dang it.
No, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. You know, I sent you what it is you're supposed to say. All you had to do is look at your phone. It's in a text.
It is in a text, and I thought I had it memorized. The only thing I remember is my mom said it's and the same to you or and the best to you. I'm sorry, man. I'm of the age where if I learned something, I have to, by definition, forget something. And I was not in the mood to make that trade. I thought that would be like a Miami Heat type bad trade.
When I say top of the morning to you, you say, and the rest of the day to you.
Now I've got it for it.
Okay.
It's in short term. I'm going to try to move it to long term.
And the rest of the day to you?
I mean, that's a long time that I get. You only get the morning.
Right.
I only get the morning. You get the rest of the day.
Not a fair trade.
Terrible.
It really
trade.
isn't.
What can I
That's
tell you?
like Giannis for Bam. That's how bad of a trade that is.
It's for, I'm not sure for who. Giannis must be miserable. He must be miserable.
Yeah, wait till the offseason when he says, okay, now I want out because it ain't going to happen here anymore. And anyway, we'll get to that in due time. So a couple of areas I want to go. First, has anything like Shedeur Sanders ever happened in baseball? Okay, where a guy and then a month later, a few months later, whatever, and then next thing you know, the whole sport's going, yeah, I don't want him. You want him? I don't want him.
So no, because owners are too competitive, and that's why there was no collusion in the NFL, because owners want to beat each other, and if they have an opportunity to get a player that another team can't get, they're going to take advantage of that. In baseball, what happens is agents say this guy won't sign with you, and if you draft him, he'll go to college. That's always a threat for high school players to say, and we call their bluff and say, fine, then go to college. We'll get another draft pick the year after. Stanton threatened to go to college, and we drafted him anyway, and then he signed. And so that's one threat you can do. The other threat is you can just say, I'm not going to sign at all because I don't want to play for you. And we say, fine, then you lose a full year, and you'll be a year older before you get to free agency if you ever do. And good luck, go back in the draft. So there are players who do that also. But when teams evaluate players, it is very rare to have 30 teams evaluate a player well and then not draft him, which is why I don't believe that happened in the NFL. I think that teams evaluated Shedeur as a 5th-round pick.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a 5th round. I mean, how much do you think, if it's true that these interviews and a lot of these interviews went as poorly as they did, there was talk that GMs owners would just take them off the board. We don't want a backup who may have been a 3rd or 4th round pick. We just don't want the noise.
Yeah, we got a lot of that in baseball with players who think they're ready to be in the big leagues, players who come in with agents or parents who are overwhelming. There were not many examples that I can think of where we would pass on a player for entourage reasons or for bad interview reasons. We certainly interview players, and there are reports done on them. There are tests taken. There's all sorts of things that you do. And sometimes you get it wrong where you do not have a player on your draft board who other teams do. And sometimes you have it the other way where you see something in a player that other teams don't. But in terms of one player screwing up something like that so badly, I question whether that's actually what happened, because I would be able to say to my GM, I know he had a bad interview. I know his father may be a pain in the tuchus, but man, this guy is a number 1 quarterback and we need one. I don't know that I'd walk away from that.
You know, there's 2 words in sports that I think you have to be careful before you use them. One is the C word, choke, and the other is the Q word, quit. But it sure as hell looked like the Miami Heat over the last 3 days just flat out quit, which is something totally opposite of what that organization is known for. First off, did you ever go home from work thinking, yeah, they've quit. Our guys have quit. I got to make changes. Or I'm just curious what you think from afar when a team loses 2 home playoff games by a combined 90-plus points.
So owners think that a lot, where when we would get no hit or a shutout, the owner would say we're flat. The owner would say we're not trying. The owner would say we quit on the manager. We quit on the team. And we would respond, no, we just got beaten by a better team. Because when you don't hit, it looks like you're low energy. It looks like your team stinks, but it's part of the game. I would like to tell you that I understand what Barkley and others were saying, that it looks like the Heat quit. It certainly did to me as well. But I would more say that it's likely that the Cavaliers are just a much better team, and they had 2 good games. The Cavaliers shot unbelievably well. Even if you don't play defense, it's hard to shoot that well, in a scrimmage. And they just were hitting every shot. And the Heat were playing with the desperation of a 10 seed down 0-3, which is you go for broke. Tyler Hero, take 40-foot shots. When they fall, I look like a genius. When they don't fall, I look like a scrub, and it looks like I'm quitting. But Pat Riley has to look at that game and not say that his team quit. I think he has to look at that game and say, my team's not good enough. And that is what should necessitate changes this coming season, that the core group he put together with Bam and Hero, the acquiescing to trading Jimmy Butler, all of those things were un-Pat Riley-like. And either he's got another run in him or the Heat are done.
So I am scared to go here, but I can't help myself because we've gotten to know you a little bit. You've been successful. You've led people as a president of a team. You're seen to be a proud individual, a go-getter, and all of those things. If you ever did an interview, and I know you may or may not have a woman in your life right now, if you ever did an interview, would you allow your girlfriend to stand next to you and dictate what you said?
I mean, are you asking me if I were 73 dating a 24-year-old?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am.
So it's a great question because I'm not saying no, but I'm not 73 and I'm not dating a 24-year-old. I can only tell you that it's a pretty bad look for him. Ooh. But I also know that when you're dating a 24-year-old and you're 73 and you're Bill Belichick, you're thinking to yourself, everybody else is wrong. I'm doing it right. And I don't know that I'm going to argue with him because maybe he is doing it right. Or maybe he is being held captive. I don't know. And I could give you every stereotype that could be existing in that relationship. But 1-0 her. And that's that. In terms of Bill, I would be advising him much differently. And my guess is he would be listening to me not at all. It is very common for second wives or for younger girlfriends to have that level of power and that level of control over their men. It is, I'm not making a stereotype. I don't want to create issues except to say you're just seeing it play out in public. This kind of stuff plays out within families every single day where this happens. So it just was so uncomfortable because it's like when you know something's happening and you know that the person who it's happening to doesn't believe that it's happening. And there's nothing you can say to him that will make him understand and see it that way, because definitionally, he thinks that we don't know what we're talking about, not that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Is his relationship with her, and obviously we have no idea what the relationship, the inner workings of it. We just know he's 73 and she's 24. Is that relationship exclude him from ever being hired in the NFL again, in all seriousness?
No, I really, I hired people when I didn't like their wives or husbands. Like it's not, there is family baggage that comes with everyone. Believe me, you hire a 73-year-old who's been married to a 73-year-old for 50 years. And I promise you, they have their own set of issues in terms of how stuck in their ways they are and how, whatever the case may be, everyone's got issues. So I don't, from an HR standpoint, when I'm doing hiring, I don't look at a family and say, oh, you're from a broken family, I'm not going to hire you. Or, oh, you're from a together family, I'm going to hire you. I don't do that. Bill Belichick not being hired has more to do with what sort of control he wants, what sort of delusion he has in terms of money, equity, power, all of those things. I don't think it's related to her. But I'll tell you one thing, I sure as heck wouldn't ask him to do any more interviews.
No, that's a fact. And don't know how much it's helping the book sales, but I mean, CBS Sunday Morning is the layup of all interviews. It's a feel-good show. It's not, it's not 60 Minutes. It's not hard hitting. And he came off looking very differently than I think we've ever seen him look before.
Well, it's funny you say look, and I'm going to talk about the physical side. I can't believe that any 24-year-old with style would let my man go on camera with a hole in his shirt like it was coming out of a moth closet. I know I understand that he's got the schlep look cornered with the hoodies and everything else, the cutoff hoodies, but it's gone to another level now. And you have to know that it's CBS This Morning. This is a professional interview talking about him, his program, and it just went sideways in such a viral way, not to the benefit of UNC, not to the benefit of Bill himself, and frankly, not to the benefit of his girlfriend, who in theory was flexing her muscles. It made her look awfully controlling and awfully crazy almost. What is the problem of how they met? Whatever the truth is, if they met online, if they met as an escort, who knows how they met? Who cares? If they met at a party, if they met through a friend, if they met through a fiddler on the roof, shidduch. I mean, I'm not sure it matters to anyone, but when you answer it that way, which is her running on camera to say, we will not talk about this, it makes it sound like he was asked about the damn nuclear codes. And I just found it to be awfully strange.
Did you just curse after Fiddler on the Roof? What was that?
Shit. Oh, sorry. I forgot I'm talking to Goyam.
No, I know what you said. I just thought it was a funny line. That's all. You know what's funny? And we've got like 30 seconds. Do you know the hole in his shirt was the only thing that I thought made him look like the Bill Belichick that I thought I've known the last 40 years? I mean, seriously, it reminded me of the Rocky interview in the meat packing plant when he's got, his hand through the hole in his. Honestly, it was the only part of him which I go, well, that guy I recognize. All the rest, I don't know who he is.
I just kept thinking, did they have to put makeup, like cover up on that so it wouldn't glow and shine because of the lights in the interview?
He's David Samson.
And we're two goys, by the way.
Right.
Two goys and a Jew every Tuesday, 7 a.m.
I was going to say, can we podcast this? Is this a show?
We are.
Follow David Samson on X.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, Tadalafil, and Viagra, Sildenafil are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. Less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American-made at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, we fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Ooh.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Pat Kirwan to join us in 40 minutes time. Scott Jackson a little over an hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Hey, unless I missed it, we have not discussed a poll question yet today, have we?
We have not.
Okay. I want to scratch the surface, but not get into it in detail, and propose this as a poll question. The question being, if you were invited to the White House, would you go? A, of course. B, depends on the president. And just leave it at that. I don't
And
want
just leave it at that.
Yeah,
That's
leave it at
pretty
that.
tough to do.
No, I don't think it is. Think about it. Think about it. Those who are fans of this particular president, okay, may not have been fans of the last president. Would that change their thinking? You know, I mean, does it depend? Okay, if I'm a fan of the president, I'll go. If I'm not a fan of the president, I won't go. You and I are very consistent on this. Okay,
Very consistent.
very
It doesn't matter
consistent on
who
this.
the damn president
No.
is. We show up, we shake his hand, we look him in the eye and say, "Thank you for inviting me, Mr. President," or "Yes, sir, Mr. President,"
Exactly.
or whatever the proper answer is, Mr. President.
Right.
Or if the day ever comes, Ms. President. It to us, it doesn't matter. Man, woman, Republican, Democrat, independent. It has never mattered one bit to David.
No.
And
No.
it's not political. It's the office.
And, you know, I was fortunate with the Army-Navy game to meet President Obama and, at the time, President-elect Trump, and greeted them both exactly the same. Doesn't matter to me. It's the President of the United States. Got to be kidding me. You know, you treat him a certain way. Honor to be here. Good luck. All the best. Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, sir, Mr.
Got
President.
time for a little tour? Like to see some of the rooms, if you don't mind.
Right. Okay. What's down this wing, Mr. President?
Heard there's a little off room to the Oval Office.
Where's the wet bar, Mr. President? I mean, yes, absolutely. But I'm serious, okay? Because it's very simple. If you're invited to the White House, would you go? A, of course. B, depends on who the president is. Now, I mean, if you want to say in the question, do you want to put sports in it? Okay. If your team won a championship and you were invited to the White House, would you go? Whatever. But the question is the same. And then everybody's got their biases. They've got their thoughts. And we're not passing judgment on it. We're not getting involved in the discussion. Here it is. It's your ball. Take it and run with it.
I love the fact that Saquon Barkley got a bunch of grief for going to the White House and playing golf with President Trump, but he pointed out that he played golf with President Obama not more than a month ago or 3 weeks ago or whatever. I mean,
Right.
he threw it right back in their
Totally.
face.
Right. And basically said, stay off my timeline with all your political crap. Not interested. Have a nice day.
And that has those on one side even more fired up to come at him more.
Now, I have to admit, and this has, I'm telling you, this has absolutely nothing to do with who the president is. The last one or the current one. Nothing. Like, there were 12 or 14 pretty high, pretty prominent Eagles that didn't attend. Okay. If I knew for a fact they were not attending because of who the president was, okay, I would reach out and just say, hey, this isn't about the person in the office. This is about us. We want a title, man. This is about us getting honored. Okay, this is our country honoring us. He's just the conduit. He's just delivering the message. You don't want to be there when we're honored for our championship? That would be my argument.
And if they chose still not to go, then it's their choice.
Okay, fine. But so that's, that's as close as you and I will ever get to go in politics on this show. Okay. But just throw it out there, because then people have to decide for themselves. I mean, because listen, in 4 or 8 years, the other party could be in office and you could win a championship then. So be honest with yourself. And the good thing is no one's going to call you out. You know how you're voting. There's no wrong answer. Does it not matter at all who's in the Oval Office? Or, oh no, it definitely matters. So, it's your question to answer. We gave our answer. We gave it a decade plus ago. We said it did not matter. We would be there.
I think it started with us when we brought it up for the first time. I believe, David, and I could be wrong, was when Bruin goaltender Tim Thomas didn't go to the White House during President Obama's, I think, second term. I'm not sure.
It was late in his first term because they won the 2011 Cup. So, yes.
We were critical of Tim Thomas.
Right.
And I said then, and I maintain it. When are you as an athlete ever going to get an audience, albeit for maybe 5 to 10 seconds, with the leader of the free world? And I said that Tim Thomas could have said right there, President Obama, I drastically disagree with you on X. You're never going to have that chance anywhere else. He ain't coming to one of your games, and he ain't going down to the locker room after.
Also, in that case, it was the Bruins' first cup in 39 years. It was kind of like, hey, this is a big deal. But so anyway, that's what I would recommend. Now, I'll nominate that as the question. If that's too, I don't know, going to get too many people worked up, I couldn't have phrased it any more vanilla. But that's where I would go. Does this matter to you? Or does it not matter at all? So
we'll get it up. So if you were on a team that won a championship and were invited to go to the White House, would you go?
Right.
Yes.
Of course. And B, depends on who's in the White House. All right. Sure call. There's no wrong answer.
Don't get mad at me out there in the X-verse, because I can't put depends on who is president. I don't get enough characters. So I'm putting depend on who is prez. Okay? Don't come at me. I'm not in the mood today. Using an abbreviation.
Thought you were going to have to go parenthesis underneath. Don't have room for more.
No, they'd vote for that one.
So, all right, that's my nomination. There is a minor developing story. I have to admit, I thought they were going to move on from this guy. But the Niners, they just signed George Kittle to a 4-year extension. Now, it's basically 2 years of guaranteed money. But Kittle is 32, like fourth game of the year. So he's under contract for this year, and then he's under contract for 4 more. 4 years, $76 million, so 19 a year. 40 of it's guaranteed. So basically, they've got Kittle for when he's 32, 33, 34. And he's going to count big money on their cap. I thought he was a prime candidate for them to just move on from Kittle after this year. 32 years old, we're going in a different direction. So, Niners re-signed Kittle to a 4-year extension.
I mean, how many playmakers can they afford to lose?
Do you think he's still a playmaker?
I do.
Okay.
I still think he's an effective player.
Oh, well, okay. That's different, though. You have to admit. Effective player, playmaker.
No,
Miller
there's
and
a
Moulton.
difference, but he can still be a playmaker. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has the look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yep, you're right. I've been a total jerk for the last month, guys. But when you guys keep taking what I say out of context, I'll be that way every time. When the commercials are off, I don't think I'm that way on the air, but if I am, I apologize. But quite frankly, it's been to one of you in the Twitch chat room, no one else. But if I've been that way to all of you, I apologize. No, there has been one person that I have talked about for weeks that I find to be extremely negative and antagonistic all the time. If you guys don't feel that way, that's fine. I've never banned anybody from the Twitch chat room, and I never will. Ever.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till Pat Kirwan joins us at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Scott Jackson, 1 hour from now. He's part of the Commanders Radio Network. How about that announcement? A new nearly $4 billion stadium. Commanders are going to pay nearly $3 billion of it. I'm intrigued by the whole see-through part of it. You know, glass roof, glass sides, so you could see at the one side, you get a nice view of some of the landmarks in our nation's capital. I mean, that's what I'm also 65,000 seats. Like, Snyder there built a 92,000 seat stadium. RFK was small. RFK, I think, was like barely 60. So this is closer in size, and obviously it's on the same location. But 65,000, dome it. They don't know if it's going to be permanent dome or retractable dome, and they want to try to make it see-through. This was the original design of the Astrodome, The Astrodome was grass, and the roof allowed the sun in. Problem was, outfielders couldn't see the fly balls, and the grass didn't grow, and it died. So they said, let's go turf and let's paint the roof.
What I find most interesting, because I don't have the passion for, it's a clear roof. Great. I'm
and that's fine.
I mean, if you get to go to a lot of these and maybe still be doing this when you go. So if I were going to the stadiums, I'd be a little more jacked up to see them, but I don't anticipate an influx of cash allowing me to travel weekends to
right.
visit stadiums anytime soon. Like our old producer, Felipe, I found out he and his dad last week went on a ballpark trip and went and did his dad's a big baseball fan. They went and did PNC in Pittsburgh, I think Progressive in Cleveland. And I think they did Comerica in Detroit, and he actually caught a Heat Cavs game in Cleveland. What an amazing father-son trip. That's awesome. I got to do that with my dad a couple of different times, once to a Masters, and one we went back to Michigan and caught a Spartan game one day and a Tiger game the next. Those are unbelievable experiences to have with your son or with your father. Absolutely great. But what I find most interesting is that Washington's going to spend all this money and they're going to build a dome. Why the hell didn't Buffalo?
Cost. The Pagulas didn't want to throw in any more of their money.
But it seems that most of these NFL owners, I don't think you're going to get many new stadiums that aren't domes.
Well, no, they all want a Super Bowl.
And they want Final Fours.
Yeah.
And they want the ability to host other events at their venue. And not that Buffalo was going to get a Super Bowl or a Final Four. It wasn't going to happen. They don't have the hotels. They don't have the ability to pull off. After Jacksonville was such a debacle with the lack of hotel rooms, the airport that's tough to get to, I don't see the smaller market NFL teams getting a Super Bowl just because they built a new stadium.
No, there is a minimum hotel criteria. You have to have X number of rooms. And you'd be surprised the NFL markets that still don't qualify. Like if Nashville had not had the explosion that Nashville has had, Nashville couldn't, like when they moved to Nashville, the Oilers, when they moved there, Nashville couldn't get a Super Bowl. They didn't fit the criteria. So now Nashville, obviously very different city. They fit the criteria. They're going to get a Super Bowl. Hasn't been announced yet. They want to make sure the stadium's ready and the team plays in it for a year and work out any kinks. And then they'll give them a Super Bowl, probably by the end of the decade.
And it does get away from what you and I always thought would and should happen, is that they get a permanent rotation of Super Bowl cities. But if they do that, they're going to leave out the new guy. And when you're, in the case of Washington, when he's going to spend, what, $2.3 billion of his own money?
2.7
of his own money. Well,
right.
Then you're going to look at the commissioner and go, you're going to give me a blankety blank Super Bowl.
Yeah, a little something for the effort there, Raj. What do you say? Even if the other owners are envious. But they've had a lot of West Coast Super Bowls here, and they're going to have another one. Oh, this year will be Santa Clara, technically, but San Fran. 60 is in Santa Clara, and 61's in LA. And I think that'll be the 5th Pacific time zone Super Bowl in 6 years, with only New Orleans interrupting it. So I would think we're due to come east. We haven't been to Miami since the first Niners-Chiefs Super Bowl. That was 54. You and I are both shocked Dallas hasn't had one since the Steelers-Packers game. That was the 2010 season. I mean, that's 15 years and counting. Can't believe they haven't given Jera a game in 15 years.
When's the last time Atlanta's had one? Atlanta is a great event town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they do well, whether it's SEC championship, college football playoff, Final Fours. They've done well for their events.
So was Patriots Rams Atlanta, or was it Houston? I always get those two confused. But so anyway, we think they're coming east. We'll see. But Pat Kirwan in about 15 minutes to talk all things NFL. Gut-wrenching loss for the Lightning last night. Let me ask you this question. We don't know how this series is going to turn out. They can still win it. And you and I are big fans of whoever wins this series we think could be in the finals. We think very highly of these two teams and think they have the ingredients to win 2 series immediately after it. But how open do you think the window is for both these franchises?
For the Lightning and Panthers?
Yeah.
Well, I think the Panthers are just getting started. Now, Bobrovsky's near. They will have to find his replacement for this run to continue, because Bobrovsky's getting a little bit older, but still playing at an incredibly high level.
He's been the best goalie in the series so far.
That's an easy one, unfortunately, because Vasilevsky's played poorly, and he was bad last night again. Those last 2 goals were terrible.
Terrible.
The rebound on the Ekblad goal, and then to let a floater. I know there was traffic, but that's one you have to have. And he has been unable to make the big saves with he played really well in the 2-0 shutout, and he played well in the win.
He did, but you know what? The goal he gave up, he should have stopped. Even Lundqvist, and Lundqvist does not question the goaltending very much, but he said a goaltender of his caliber, he should have had that one.
Yeah, I think he was late going post to post.
Yep.
The pass came across, and he was just late getting from one side to the other. Tampa's interesting, David, because they've been able to do some things that normal NHL teams, period. I mean, you look at Point. He was a third liner a couple of years ago. He's now emerged as a top talent in the league. They replaced Stamkos with Getzel. Getzel's been highly effective this year.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice if he could score a power play goal in the playoffs, but that's a whole nother story. So they've been able to, I think, retool on the fly pretty effectively.
Yes, and they've gotten better. This year's team is better than last year's team. They brought some guys back, though. They brought Yanni Gord back. They brought the defenseman back from Nashville.
McDonough.
Okay, and he's been terrific. I'd argue he's been better than Hedman this year. I think Hedman's game is slipping. It's kind of why I brought it up, that I'm just wondering, you got to remember the Lightning went to their first final in 2015. I mean, the core, Vasilevsky, Hedman, Stamkos, and I know Steven's not there anymore, but the young core first had their deep playoff run in 2015. I mean, this is their 11th crack at Lord Stanley. I mean, how many more cracks do you have until the moment's just passed you by?
Well, until you become Detroit, that all of a sudden you were there forever.
Right.
And now you're 8 years in a row not making the postseason. Because it didn't look like that was coming there, and all of a sudden overnight it just happened. So Tampa's ability to get players back, but also get players within their system is going to be pressed here in the next couple of years. I do think Florida's window has a decent amount of time left. Tampa's will depend on what they can surround their good players with. And Vasilevsky's not getting any younger either.
So he's, by the way, fourth longest consecutive games playoff streak, Vasilevsky. In terms of if his team's in the playoffs, he's starting in that game. It's Brodeur, it's Waugh, it's Lundqvist, and it's Vasilevsky. And Vasilevsky, if the Lightning can do anything next year, I think moves past Lundqvist to third all time. I mean, we're talking like 120 consecutive playoff starts. Just ridiculous. But I'm just curious as to how, because the Panthers are, you get old quickly. And if they get past Tampa, you and I both think they're going back to the finals. That'll be 3 straight years going to the finals. It's a lot of hockey.
It is a lot of hockey. And, but you look at the contracts they've got signed, they've got everybody pretty lined up for the next few years. Whereas you look at a Toronto, if they don't do it this year, and boy. Marner's, free agent. And he's
Tavares, I think, is a free agent also. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, they have some issues of guys, whether or not they want to come back. And what they're going to get on the open market is going to be ridiculous. So I don't know if Toronto is going to be able to match with some of their players of what they had.
So just curious as to how long you think both teams' windows are. And you're right. Florida's got more guys signed for longer, but here's the problem. It's a hard cap league. And if all of a sudden the guys you signed are, quote, old, it's tough to unload them. And you're stuck with them.
Miller and Moulton, we've got a poll question up today. It's as political as we will ever get on this show.
While remaining as neutral as possible.
If you were on a team that won a championship and were invited to the White House, would you go? Right now, 84% of you are saying, of course. The rest of you are saying depend on who the president is.
My guess is that number is going to go down. I think it's going to end up around 70-30. I think we're very polarized. Very polarized.
And I think, given the fact that I know how, by percentage, how we voted in this state, and particularly where our show is, I think this vote could have been different if it would have happened, I don't know,
last
year ago.
Right. I agree. But I'm counting on the voter they know their bias. Okay, I'm counting on the voter to say to themselves out loud, well, if it's Trump, damn right I'm going, but I never would have gone if it was Biden, and vice versa. I mean, I'm trusting people. It's an anonymous vote, but you know, I'm trusting them to be honest with it.
It's a lot of trust, David.
I understand.
That's a lot of trust.
I understand. I actually think, though, this is a question people want to chime in about. I think this is a subject that interests people. I think people have a strong opinion when they hear that certain people didn't go to the White House. And very rarely is it a scheduling conflict.
Some of the texters depends on the president. Another texter, yes, it's an honor whether you agree or not with their politics. This one says, I would go to be with the team. I cannot say strongly enough how much I disagree with blah, blah, blah. But,
Right. And that's what I would have said to there was 12 or 14 pretty prominent Eagles who didn't go. And I would have just tried to say, hey, this is about us. It's not about him. It's about us. Like the late Steve McMichael. When Obama, because the Bears didn't get honored after winning the Super Bowl 40 years ago because of the Challenger disaster. When Obama finally honored them, it was either 25 or 30 years after they had won it. McMichael was not a fan. He didn't go. Well, I mean, Ditka, I don't think was a fan either. And he went and he even said, come on, Steve, it's about us, not him. Pat Kirwan is next.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower is so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, fellas.
How are you?
I'm good. Well,
Recover from a long weekend?
Yeah, I got out of there Saturday. I didn't have to do. I told him, I said, after 20 some odd years, I need to take the Saturday off.
Good for you. I didn't think so. I thought when I turned it on, you were gone.
Well, we don't even cover it really. The picks come so fast, Mark.
Right.
They're like every 10 to 15 minutes we go, okay, while you were gone, Mark Miller and Dave Moulton and Pat Kirwan were drafted, and then it's a lot of nonsense talk. But I just said, look, I got 6 grandkids at my house and my wife's battling with them. I got to go. And I think next year we're going to try to do the third day from the studio or from home. Don't need to be in
which could be done. Absolutely.
And, there was
I'll tell you what, because I think I told you this on Friday, but, we've always done, David and I always did a show. We didn't this year for whatever reason, but I ended up listening to a little bit of you on the radio. I think, and there was a couple of listeners that said that they just put the volume down and Sirius on. It's just it's a better football listen, and it's not close.
Well, thank you. It's the other guys are driven by producers. We're driven by our opinion. And there's a big difference.
Now, it's tough for you guys to get a word in edgewise when you add that third guy to it. He talks a lot.
Yeah, he does. But, they would like you to talk about Shador the whole time. And I said, we're not doing that. I actually said on the air, I'm so glad I'm not talking about this guy starting tomorrow. Good luck, fellas. Yeah.
That was something.
Yeah. How about I don't think we covered it yet. How about Bill Belichick's girlfriend?
We had David Sands. We talked a little bit about that. Wow. I got sent. I should send it to you. I got sent an AI, they overdub the ballot. People have too much time on their hands.
Yeah, I know, but I think we have the same sense of humor.
Yes.
Good morning, David.
Hey, Pat.
Yeah. 70-30, I think that's perfect. Another victory. How you feeling?
Awful.
Yeah. Hang in there, bro.
Yep.
Keep fighting. Now, you doing a show with me on Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim I don't know what's going on. Well, Jim's in the middle of that whole thing. Plus, he's going to I told him I'm not going to Mobile to do because it's not even a show. We're doing interviews Sunday at the big reception. So the guys walk over and do them. And then Monday morning, we're doing them. And then everyone's going to the airport and get on a plane and go home.
Is this the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame?
Yeah. And I said, you know what? I've done it too many times. I'm done with it. Send someone else. And I'm just going to do the show with you on Monday, which is way better than flying in Mobile and back again and giving up a weekend for it.
And you'll
coming
find
up
out
on my first real weekend.
And you'll find out tonight whether or not the Blades will be home Friday, Saturday, or next week.
Yeah. Well, how great is it that these guys all went 7? I'm friends with the guy who's the head coach of Iowa. And, his team made it. He's finally got something.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
We're halfway home in the 239 and the 904. It's the final hour of Miller and Moulton in Lake City, Live Oak and surrounding areas, Port Charlotte, Venice and surrounding areas. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Pat Kirwan joins us Tuesdays at this time. You know Pat, NFL Radio, moving the chains, weekdays 3 to 7. And then he'll start back up again in September with CBS's NFL Today show. Pat's weekly appearances brought to us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, all points in between Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Hey, can I ask you about Green Bay? There were a lot of people there, but there's 3 sports bars in Green Bay. I mean, besides standing in the parking lot and watching the draft, what did you do?
Well, I think the number of bars that are available to the locals is more than 3.
It
Try
might not
10.
be sports bars, but holes in the wall, I'll agree.
They were all over the place, and there were roofs of guys' houses, so it was so funny. On Thursday, right after they picked Matthew Golden, the exodus of just the Packer fans was extraordinary because they needed a seat at the bar, and they wanted to go until 3 or 4 in the morning. And the rain, and this is so classic of the NFC North. It needed rain and a few snow flurries at times to make you feel like where you were. And they didn't even act like it was a problem. They're not allowed to bring umbrellas in. God only knows they'd probably stab each other. But they walked right in and I said, there's no way they're all coming on Friday. Friday was worse weather. And I'm asking people, hey, were you thinking of staying home today? Are you kidding? No way. I think schools were closed. They thought this was a national event. So it was great to see the little town of 100,000 really do a good job. And they made it nice for everybody. But it was classic. I called it winter weather. So would you.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that I would. And they pulled it off. It's this traveling road show that is the NFL. They don't seem to make many mistakes. I remember David and John was back with us and going, what the hell are they doing the draft on Thursday? It's been an overwhelming success taking this to 3 days. Now they've taken it on the road. I mean, they announced they're coming at Christmas again with 3 games every year. It seems that there's not much that the NFL can do that's wrong, Pat.
No, I like to kiddingly say that football is the drug of choice in America. And they can't resist it. They're around it. They want it. Whenever you can provide it, they'll take it. There's no time. And, thank goodness we actually have the end of a season. There are those, I can tell you from our show, they miss the games like they have withdrawal right at the end of the season. And I think they need a little bit of a quiet time to get started again. But the fans in general, they'd go someplace and watch videos of games, just like that's all the draft really is. You're hearing names and you're watching videos, and they love it.
It's funny, and not to go too long on this, but my wife asked me during the draft, what is the phenomenon of this in the NFL? And I said, honey, I really think part of it is it's the shortest of all the major sports seasons. I go, they have figured out absence makes the heart grow fonder. Okay, then the other leagues are going on for too long. Okay, meanwhile, you have the NFL fan clamoring for another month of games. Okay, and the league is like, no, we're good. We'll see you next year.
Yeah, and it's always game 7 in the playoffs.
Right.
All these other sports have to get to game 7 for the suspense of do or
True.
die.
Yep.
These guys, they live with just game 7.
All right. A couple of specific Sanders questions.
Yeah.
If you had him evaluated as a day 2 guy, why didn't you take him in the 4th round, if you know what I mean? And then I just want to get to, how are they going to do the snaps in camp? 2 veterans and 2 rookies? I mean, how are they going to do this? They promised both veterans they'd get a shot to start. I'm just curious. I was surprised when he didn't go in the 4th round. Why do you think that was? And how are they going to handle training camp?
Well, they're not going to keep 4 quarterbacks. We all know that. No one does that. And if you put them on the practice squad, someone will claim them. I think Flacco can certainly handle the job with limited reps, and at his age probably will appreciate limited reps. So it's really, when you look at the 2 rookies, you really can't tell me, no one will convince me either one of them's the true 2, which means he comes off the bench in the middle of a game. So it'll be the kid pick, it'll be the 2. They're just fighting for the 3 job, and someone's going to get cut.
I know.
Which makes this whole story even funnier.
Well, it is. And Pat, you've impressed upon me in the past couple of weeks, past couple of months. It's that if you're going to bring a rookie in and say he's your 2, is he ready in case your quarterback gets hurt week 1? So I know that's the case, but this is Cleveland. They don't do things like normal franchises do. Could you see them trying to trade Pickett to somebody who may want it to, or is he there too?
Well, he's there too. They know him very well. He played against him a bunch. He's a veteran that has started. One of the candidates behind him is 5'10", and the other one can't escape. So they probably did the league a favor by just taking him. Because if they didn't take him there, I know you want to look and say, why not the 4th? If they don't take him, is he going to the 6th?
Well, there were two teams who, when they kept passing on him, I think many of us were surprised. And I don't want to speak for Mark, but for me, when the Raiders and then the Steelers, okay, and when neither one jumped on him in round 4, that's when I was like, damn.
No, it's not to insult him. I know his dad very well. I think they played their cards wrong the whole time. About I was standing right next to him at the combine when he was asked, why should I draft you? And he goes, because I'm legendary. And people started looking at each other like, what is he talking about? Legendary. So he played his cards wrong. He really wouldn't work out for anybody. It was kind of like, we're going to dictate the terms of this thing. And what he found out was that the league doesn't let anybody dictate the terms of anything. So he found himself where he was. And what got exposed was that his skill sets were limited. You can win with them, I suppose, if you want to sit in the pocket. You tell me, David, who sits in the pocket anymore? He can't run.
No doubt that there
I didn't notice. David didn't answer me.
Well,
I know.
I disagree with you. I still don't get me wrong. It's
Why?
nice. It's nice if my quarterback can pick up the 3 or 4 first downs a game with his legs. But I think Super Bowls are won 7 yards behind center. Okay. It's great when you can get me.
You're remembering Brady. That's not what Mahomes does.
Well,
so he's not even accurate. You want me to keep bashing him? I'll keep bashing him. He was drafted exactly where he should have been drafted.
Okay.
And I don't know that boomers. I know boomers. I talked to Boomer, but I don't know that. And he didn't get that from me. That there were owners that took him off the board. You know the problem in Cleveland, and this is what's going to happen right away. Mark will love this. As soon as camp starts and every outlet is there, sooner or later, they're going to frustrate the veterans on the team who don't want to talk about Shedeur Sanders as they're trying to get their team back in order. And this to them will be the biggest distraction and non-story to them. They don't want to deal with it. And I'm wondering how long Cleveland's going to deal with it. Because if it gets to be a circus, there's no focus on getting ready for the season. What if the 5th quarterback comes back, David?
He's not coming back this year. Come on. We know better than that.
Excuse me. If he walks on that field, what are they going to do?
Arrest him.
No,
seriously. He's never taken a step.
No. I've seen them all do this. He's going to show up and he's going to land up wanting to be in the weight room. He's going to want to be in the meetings. His agent is going to tell him, go in there and force them to release you. Can they afford to release him? No. He's going to play this out, just like the guy in New Orleans is going to play this out. Did you hear him the other day?
Yep.
Did he mention when he got injured? Nope. You know, if you got injured
an MRI.
Game, if you got injured during a game, you should have reported that when you were going for your exit physical. And then they would have determined to either go to surgery or take 6 to 8 weeks of recovery time and then surgery. And if they did plan to, the surgery would have been March 21st. So when did this all happen? And that meeting he had with the church group, he never mentioned when it happened.
All right. I'm going to switch gears off of Shedeur Sanders and talk about 5th round picks that no one's heard of except for maybe Pat Kirwan. But the Bucs in their draft, they get Ibuka in the 1st round. They go all defense. You talked to Todd Bowles a lot. He had interviewed they had brought in every corner, I think, that was eligible to be drafted. They drafted 2 of those. But talk to me about the 4th and 5th round guys, because I think both of them, at least one of them, were at the Senior Bowl. The kid from Central Arkansas, David Walker, and Elijah Roberts, the 2 edge guys. People are talking about these guys maybe being able to make the team and make an impact. What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, I think David Walker was a unique player. Not many small college guys, but I do think David Walker will make the team. Elijah Roberts, to me, you're getting close to the practice squad with him. But they're going to get – I think Walker will make it. He's a pretty interesting guy. And the part of pass rushers, if you go back historically, David's the historian on this part of it, you go back to the small black colleges, the small colleges, they find pass rushers. And there's a unique kids, almost all on there because they didn't predict in their grades, and they go to the smaller schools. That he stayed at Central that long with NIL around, offering money to guys like crazy, that's impressive to me, but I think he'll make the football team.
30 seconds. Is there a team whose draft surprised you in a negative way?
Minnesota. I thought Minnesota would work harder to get more picks. They didn't do that. They really went from 4 to 5. That's no big deal at all. Donovan Jackson, when you're sitting there at pick 24, and I like Donovan Jackson, but I would have taken a bet that I could have moved down 4 or 5 spots and still got him.
He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, joining us once again courtesy of Pinchers. Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
Defining a new era in men's health. Get stronger and healthier at Game Day Men's Health. With our in-house laboratory, get in, get treated, and get back to your passion and purpose. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs or Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for a 10% discount on your service. Start living your best with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Did you guys, by any chance, hear Brandon Bean on with me yesterday?
I did not.
He had an interview.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah, well, I made him reenact it. And he got mad all over again.
There's a couple of, first off, I applaud him for going on. I do. I didn't think he was that hard on those two. He was hard on them, but one, I think for everybody out there, it says a couple of things. They can all lie and say they don't listen to sports talk radio. They all listen to sports talk radio. Pretty much all of them.
I know that our show is on in almost every office because I get text messages from guys working going, hey, good idea, or no, we're not going to cut him. So I know they're listening. But Brandon Bean is a very calm guy. And really what set him off was and he said it to them, was when he drafted Josh Allen, they were on the same guys were going, you should have taken Josh Rosen. That's where that came from.
And I was thinking about that if it were me, because I've never if I were to have what's his Goldston there, the GM of Jacksonville on, I was critical of the move.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have, and I would say to him, I wouldn't have made that move. To me, he's got to wear a gold jacket for that move to be worth it.
That's exactly right.
You obviously think he's going to wear a gold jacket, don't you? And that would be my question, because I think there's, I just think there are ways to ask it to not come off being a jerk.
No. What's your criteria for giving away that compensation? And then I asked Gettleman that about, taking, I said, you're under fire for taking that running back. And he goes, Saquon Barkley's a gold jacket. I don't need anything else to drive me to my decision.
There you go.
Yeah, and you're right. You can answer. You don't have to tell them your opinion. Ask them why they did it. Those guys, he's been on those guys for a while. But he came on with us right after it, and I said to him, hey, I'm going right back to your interview. He goes, no problem. And he got roaring mad again.
But that, to me, for the guys that are on in Buffalo, that's gold to have that. That's fine. Because he just told you he listens to your show. Great.
Yeah, that verifies why people should listen to their show.
Right.
But he thinks his local media is a bunch of dopes. And did you notice yesterday how fast people are signing veteran receivers?
Well, it's funny. We were talking about Cooper in Dallas yesterday, and by the end of the day, it's looking like they might sign him. It's like they better get somebody.
Yeah, well, right away, we lost Lockett right before the draft. Robert Woods gets signed. Deontay Johnson gets signed. Did you see what they did with Elijah Moore in Cleveland? How smart. They put the unrestricted free agent, which they're allowed to do now, and now they're going to get him in the compensatory list, but he's going to be gone. Yeah, it's like people act like, well, you didn't get this in the draft. I got a list here of 117 guys that I would sign if I needed. And I'm sure a lot of guys, you didn't get a pass rusher. Yesterday, I go pick one. Von Miller, Preston Smith, Za'Darius, Matt Judon, Agba, name it. You can get a veteran who's
and Agba got signed right away.
Yeah. Look, I was trying to explain this to the listeners. And I used to have the job. We'd be like the beginning of the second round. Steinberg would say to me, okay, listen to me. Get those top two guys, that defensive tackle on your pro board. Tell the agents we're coming to them if we don't get one in this round. We would hold them. We'd get them ready to go. If we got one, I'd call and say, hey, thanks a lot, guys. You saw what just happened. Or I'd say, hey, we missed. You want to do this? We did it a lot. And so does everyone else. I feel bad for Shador because his dad played this wrong. And the kid was just thinking it was the right way to go. He didn't. And a lot of the stuff came out. So I hope he plays well.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, moving the chains, weekdays 3 to 7. Joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers. Pat and all our guests join us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. So, whose drafts did you like that most people are not talking about? Cleveland, Seattle, the Giants, New England, people lining up to say good things about those drafts. Give me a couple of drafts that you really like that people are not necessarily lining up for.
And I thought as I looked at them, how many guys did I like it? Like, here's when I officially like a team. If I believe they have 3 starters in a draft, I love that draft. That's hard to do. It's usually 1 or 2 starters. We all know that not many guys start on opening day. Carolina, And some of these are because the team needed to get players. Carolina, I put a little note. I love them. I love the Giant draft. And the Giant fans in New York, starting with my son and my son-in-law, who are sarcastic all the time of the Giants, were absolutely excited about what the Giants did. I like Seattle's draft. I also am very interested in guys that lean on the Senior Bowl. And Buffalo comes to mind. 5 of their top 6 picks are Senior Bowl guys. And when I talked to their GM yesterday, it was fun talking. I love Landon Jackson. I think Walker's going to be a role player for them on short yardage, goal line, et cetera. I'll tell you, in the 6th round, they took Dorian Strong. I like that guy. Harrison's fine. I'm not a big fan of Sanders, and trading up for him I wouldn't, but they like the potential of him. So that draft I liked. I actually liked this is right up Mark's alley. I would not have done it, but when it's all said and done, I do like the Falcons draft. I think they gave away a lot to get Pierce, but I do like their draft. Look, they've been, 15 years I've been going, you better get some pass rushes. They finally can rush the passer. Watts will be a factor, and Billy Bowman, I think, is underrated himself. So I did like their draft. You asked me for stuff that I love New England's draft. Those are a couple thoughts that I have about the draft.
Talk to
guys
me.
That, took players, the Senior Bowl stuff, 7 first-rounders, 16 in the 2nd round, 23 in the 3rd round. That's 46 guys. Everyone says it's 50, but they're counting guys who were invited to the Senior Bowl that didn't come. I don't do that. You kind of have to go and practice for me to like it.
What about the Dolphins, Pat? They went up to get the guard from Arizona and used some capital to do so they didn't really have any more picks on day 2. They didn't pick again until the 5th round. Tough for me to find 3 starters there. I know you love Grant, the D lineman from Michigan, but what are your thoughts on the whole of the Dolphin draft?
Yeah, I didn't mention them because I don't see 3. I see at least 2. Grant and Savanea will probably just get a job because they need to put them out there. The rest of it, I think, is kind of shaky. Quinn Ewers, Ollie Gordon. I think Ollie Gordon will be, they'll make the team. Trader will make the team. Big Phillips, another Jordan Phillips will make the team. But I didn't see guys that are going to impact 2025 to the point where I'd put them on David's list of who did I like.
Some questions in the Twitch chat room. Broncos draft.
Well, that guy's smart, man, and he knows what he's looking for now. He's been around his roster long enough to know what he's got to do. I love Barron. I think he was the best corner in the draft because of versatility. When I talked to Sarkisian, and he told me he played 7 different positions, and to include dime Mike linebacker, then I realized this guy. I'm not as crazy about Harvey. I thought there were better running backs available when they took Harvey in the 2nd round at pick 60. I like Pat Bryant. I had him at the Senior Bowl. What would I call him? Probably the least known clutch receiver. He's a pretty impressive player. Savion Jones, the LSU kid, okay. Again, I didn't pick him. I do like Barron, and I like Bryant. I don't think Pat Bryant and me is going to be like Ed McCaffrey.
Back to the Jags, and I know we talked a little bit last week about Travis Hunter, but it seems more and more like the talk is they want him as a wide receiver first, not a corner. How much does that surprise you?
It's funny. Jimmy brought that up yesterday. Jim Miller, my partner, he said, we talked to a lot of guys, and we talked to a lot of guys at the combine as well, and we heard corner maybe 3-1. That they thought corner was the right spot to play him first. Everyone acknowledged that sooner or later you put a package together for him. So it's either the 3rd down defense or the 3rd down offense, but they're going to go offense, and then we'll find out. I thought his quickness and reaction time on defense was what was more impressive to me. I know he caught a lot of crazy balls it wasn't for him, the ball being incomplete. He does have acrobatic skills. But I think you take them with what your first need is, and then you build the second one up. But Bill Cowher said, look, I could have done all this with Rod Woodson, and we wanted to. He was that talented. but we found out quickly that he couldn't really do all of it. And so they put little packages together on the opposite side of the ball, which they used on occasion. I think nowadays with this guy, we'll do more of that, but I've said it on your show too many times. There's no way he's playing full-time all the time. That's not realistic.
Vegas's draft was interesting. Genty to start, the two FCS quarterbacks back-to-back in the 6th round. Your thoughts on the Raiders?
Yeah, I talked to Pete for a while yesterday, and I talked to Pete throughout the draft. They love Genty. They didn't think he was going to be there, but the way they flipped that draft around above them, it worked out great for them. You know, the Genty thing is he's one of these guys that when you hit him, he bounces off the tackle and he takes off. It's almost like a pinball, and he's very good at it. He loves Jack Besh and what he brings to the table. Pete loves these kind of guys, and it's not just because it's a good story. He said, look, Eddie Ogeron used to work for Pete. Eddie drafted this guy. I brought him, it's the same as the draft for me now. And he started him as a freshman. He led the team in receptions. Eddie was the one pushing Pete to take Jack. Porter is a reincarnation of Rick Woolen to me. Does it surprise you two guys that he took a 6'3" corner that can run 4.3? And he took a receiver in Thornton that can run 4.3. So he's looking for speed, and he was looking for guys that are clutch players, and he sees Genty and Betch that way. So the Malott, he's going to make him a receiver. Sooner or later, he might become a free safety. Who knows?
Pat, the Dallas Cowboys, to me, and you didn't mention them, they fit the criteria to me of 3 starters. They obviously got Booker. They got the edge kid from BC who's supposed to be good. And the corner from East Carolina, without the injuries, would have been drafted a lot higher. I thought the Cowboys had a really good draft.
Yes. Well, you're like me. I love the BC kid. There were guys who didn't like him as much, but it's not just the production. I talked to Billy O'Brien about the guy. And I think that's how he got drafted in the 2nd round. Billy was really trying to sell and sold to me the character, the work ethic, the leadership. He said that the number one thing he said to me was he won 3 games on his own. It was the end of the game. We had to put their quarterback on the ground to finish it, and he delivered 3 times where no one else on our team was going to have the ability to do it. So I like that. The Ravel deal, yeah, the East Carolina corner. You know what a lot of guys ask? This is a David question. Why were you still at East Carolina? Why weren't you in the Big Ten of the Southeast Conference as your career started to unveil itself?
Yeah, some people don't want to change. Okay, they're comfortable. And also, there might be a girlfriend involved. Okay.
Well, now you're talking about it. Who's the smartest NFL player?
Talent at Sup Dogs in Greenville, North Carolina. He might have just stayed for that, Pat.
Well, I love asking you guys questions like this because your answers are different for sure. Who's the smartest NFL player right now?
The smartest?
Saquon Barkley. He played golf with Trump and Obama.
Very quickly, because we're up against it. Goodell wants to shorten the time for the 1st round. You think it'll happen?
Well, I don't know why. They like to hit the 11 o'clock news, East Coast time.
Well, but they're missing it by almost an hour. He's Pat Kirwan, moving the chains.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a 2nd-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or NolanAgency.com. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You know, when the Athletic sends out a tweet or a post, I should say, For whatever reason, I can't. It doesn't send me The Athletic. It sends me to the New York Times, and you got that. First off, is my biggest irritation. But then when I go to The Athletic and try to find the article being referenced in the Post, it's not anywhere near the front page.
Yep.
It is. The information that they produce is
the best.
second to none.
Yep.
But man, is that a bad app. Just a bad app. When I click the Rays, it should have every article ever. I mean, how do you not find out about the team you're asking about when you click their specific page? It boggles the mind to me.
Is Scott on hold?
Oh, Snike.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour, and that's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton in the 239 and the 904. Our poll question today, if you're on a sports team that wins a championship and gets invited to the White House, what do you do? Do you go, or does it depend on who is currently in the White House? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. Vote accordingly. Scott Jackson, kind enough to join us. Just want to check in. He's part of the Commanders Radio Network. Also 94.1 ESPN doing afternoon drive. You can follow Scott on X at Jackson Sports. Scott, David, and Mark, thanks for doing this. How are you?
Excellent. How you guys doing?
Well, we're doing okay. I'm just curious. The Bears may move. The Bengals are talking about a new stadium. Who's the other team out there that's talking about a new stadium? There's somebody else besides the Bears. And then you have the Commanders. Emotionally, how big of a issue, story, subplot is this to Commanders fans?
It's pretty huge. I mean, the stadium has been a lightning rod, the one they're in now, for really over 20 years, even before Dan Snyder owned the team. Criticism just for it was antiquated the day it was open. It was done in a hurry. The former owner, Jack Kent Cook, was trying to get it done as he was very ill and he was dying, and he wanted to have this up and, kind of his legacy piece. But it's been a mess, and there's been a lot of money dumped into it. By not only Snyder when he was the owner, but also now even by Josh Harris and his group. And it's just not getting any better. And it's the Metro's too far from there. You're kind of trapped when you get out there. There's no bars or restaurants nearby. You're just, you're there to tailgate or go to the stadium. The traffic's always been an issue as well for a long time in terms of exiting it. Although I think they've actually done a better job with that over the years. It also may be because there's less people going to the games prior to last year. Might have something to do with that too. But yeah, it's been something people have been wanting for a while. And, throughout the time we've been yo-yo with our emotions. Hey, it could go to Virginia, it could go to this other spot in Maryland, or they could just put it on the land where it is, next door. And then there's been times where I feel like DC had no shot at getting it back. So it's a big deal. I mean, it really is a big deal. So it was, been kind of reported for a couple of weeks around here. Yesterday was the first press coverage. You see how important it is to the NFL. Roger Goodell shows up. I don't know if he shows up to all these, but he's been a big part of this, in addition to obviously Josh Harris, just building a lot of goodwill around here in a very short period of time as the team's owner.
How much can it even be measured what Josh Harris has done in such a short time? It certainly helps when you draft a franchise quarterback and he ends up looking like he is the franchise quarterback. But we were talking earlier, there are so many franchises out there that have a void in ownership, whether they're active, whether they don't want to spend. You pick the sport, we can find a bad owner. And you had that in Washington. The turnaround seems unprecedented. Is it that unprecedented?
Yeah, well, I mean, I felt this way when we started the process, when we found out that they were forcing Dan out, or however you want to look at that, or if he decided on his own, yeah, whatever, by the NFL, that whoever came in here next had a great opportunity, right? They were going to already have a lot of pluses to them, the first being they're not Dan Snyder. And, not only that, but here's the guy who has a background in sports with the Sixers and obviously the Devils, and he's got some finances in some other places too, international soccer. And he was smart, and he's also from here. Dan was from here too, but, didn't help him with the way he handled himself. But he brought in some really good partners, Mitchell Rales, who was in the radio industry here, actually started the first sports talk station in D.C., and his brother, and, Mark Ian, who is big into the tennis world in D.C., so the three guys that grew up together, went to the same elementary school, all became billionaires, amazingly. You want to send your kids to that school if you can. Anyway, so these guys, it was more than just that. Magic Johnson, just pick the right people. Pick the right people, I think, and he's done the right things. I mean, he's been doing the right things, and obviously it helps when you win, right? I mean, if they weren't winning, maybe we don't feel so good about him and everything. Hired Adam Peters, which was the right thing to do, and he hired Dan Quinn, who has been super with being the out front face on most days of the week for this franchise. He has to do that most days of the week, although on Sundays it's obviously Jaden Daniels. But really it's Dan Quinn that has to, face a lot of this, and, that's worked out well. But yeah, I mean, he's really nailed it. I mean, everything about Josh Harris with this team has been on point to this juncture for sure.
Scott Jackson, part of the Commanders Radio Network, also hosts Afternoon Drive on 94.1 ESPN Radio. Follow Scott on X at Jackson Sports. All right, well, less picks and not a prominent draft position compared to what Washington's been used to for a generation. But what's the consensus on how they did?
Well, I mean, first of all, you got to step back and say, all right, so what did you get out of this draft? Well, couple things, right? Laramie Tunsil, Deebo Samuel are part of this draft. Marshawn Lattimore is part of this draft. So the three veterans obviously are still really big to what your team's going to look like down the road here. So you had less picks. I mean, the Connerly pick. Here's the interesting thing: the Commanders came in, even though edge rusher still seems to be light. I would have said coming in edge rusher was probably first on my board. I would have said secondary help still has to be up there as well. And always offensive line. I'm never going to be mad if you're going to try to fix the offensive line. And I think with Connerly, it gives him a lot of options. Obviously, he can immediately be your right tackle while Tunsil's here as your left tackle. He also, they've said, can, play guard with his athleticism. He's certainly good enough to do that. So I think, they've solidified their offensive line, which, was okay last year. I mean, I think they did some okay things. They weren't great by any means, but they were pretty good. But definitely needed some help. Trey Amos, helps the secondary, can play there on the outside. They help move Sanders inside where he really is more natural. And assuming Lattimore's healthy on the other side. They didn't have a third-round pick. I like Jalen Lane a lot out of Virginia Tech. I was happy to see they went that route, although I don't think receiver screamed you have to take a receiver this year, but certainly there's room in that, out behind, McLaurin and Deebo, there's some guys who are kind of similar and, some guys that have had injury history in the past. So Lane's immediately at least your punt returner, I think, and he's definitely got the burner. So that helps. They needed to get faster. And then the last two picks, Medrano out of UCLA is an interesting prospect, and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who's got one of the weirder stories, had one game at Arizona last year, and they had to sit him out because of eligibility issues from, whether his red shirt was really a red shirt or not. It was kind of a strange story. But anyway, the part about him that you like is the guy stuck around all year, ran the scout team in Arizona, didn't just go feel sorry for himself and leave campus. I mean, he really bought in and was one of the team captains. So, they seem to have a profile of people they get here, guys that are usually captains or leaders, and also high, athletic upsides. And I think they hit a lot of those in just the 5 picks they had. They remain true to their board. You hear teams say it all the time, we're going to go the best player available. You're like, come on, you can't do that. You need this, you need that. But I think the Commanders were in a position where they were completely void in one area, so they could kind of play that game and certainly go, to whoever the next guy was up on their board. And I think from that standpoint, it's going to be interesting to watch all these guys develop.
With the rest of the free agents out there, is there a hole in your estimation, Scott, that they need to fill between now and training camp?
I'd be surprised if they didn't bring in a rush end of some sort. I mean, their number one sacker last year, Dante Fowler, they didn't really pursue him very hard, which was interesting. He ended up going to Dallas, back to where he was the year before. He was also a guy, despite the sack numbers, that was not really good against the run, and the run defense was terrible here last year. Now, they brought in a lot of depth guys, like a Dietrich Wise, who I guess is penciled as your starter now. Cleveland Farrell got re-signed. They also brought in Javon Kenlaw at the tackle position, although they say that, in some situations he may be able to slide and play outside, which would be interesting. I think Jacob Martin was brought in from the Bears as well this offseason. So they got a lot of, just guys right now. Nobody stands out. Now, of course, Von Miller's still out there, Ladarius Smith, Preston Smith, who started his career here. All interesting, but, some of them either are money issues or guys that have been injured, so it's always a risk. I know that there's a background, obviously, between, Adam Peters and Von Miller from his days in Denver, so that'll be intriguing. And, clearly with a guy like Bobby Wagner here, one of those vets that, maybe last year didn't seem like a fit here in Washington or re-signed, maybe he could entice a guy like a Von Miller, if you think Von Miller's healthy enough. That's the whole thing, right? Is he going to be healthy enough to be impactful, which, he has throughout most of his career, but clearly the last few seasons that the injuries have caught up to him.
Yeah, I think I'd go with one of the Smiths before I would go with Von Miller. Scott, thanks for making time for us. We appreciate it. Congratulations. Okay, because, you don't just cover the team, but you've been a part of the area for a long time, and I know you can't wait to go back to new RFK, if you will, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. As always, good talking to you.
Scott Jackson, Commanders Radio Network, afternoons, 94.1 ESPN. Jackson Sports on X is how you follow Scott Jackson. So the Browns was the other team that I forgot. Bears and Browns are both considering, do we stay in the city? Do we move out to the suburbs? Okay, the Browns technically, I think they'd still be in the city, but they're in a different section of town. And
now they wouldn't be in the city. That's where the whole lawsuit's coming from. They're moving out of the city. The Browns would be gone today if the lawsuits weren't there.
And what is it, 13 minutes from where they currently reside? And, that's considered a violation of the Modell law. So, in some places, the new stadium where you're building it, it's a BFD, I don't know if it's as big a deal in Chicago. Talked to a lot of Bears fans who are like, we'd prefer near where it currently is. But to be honest with you, we got a lot of issues going on in the city. And if it needs to be moved, needs to be moved. I think they're more interested in whether or not this quarterback develops, Mark, as in terms of where the stadium is.
There's no doubt. But I think the point that Scott just made, if you go outside of the city, they're doing things differently now. They're, what the talk is with the Bears is they're going to build a lot around that.
Right.
The difference between the Lions when they played in the Silverdome, of which there was nothing anywhere near, and now being at Ford Field, which there's a ton around the field, it makes the pro game day. We're fine in the middle of nowhere on Saturday.
Right.
We're fine. We're fine getting there at 7 a.m. for a noon kick. It's not the same way on Sunday. It just isn't. And if you're not downtown with things around the stadium, then you have to build the things around. I mean, it's baseball, but look at what the Braves did. That's how you build a stadium in the burbs. You surround it with things people want to go to where it's actually vibrant, whether or not there's a game there or not.
Also helped that 9 seconds after they moved there, they started winning in a big way again. That always helps.
No doubt.
But if you think about it, Bills will be moving into a new stadium soon, even though it's across the parking lot. Titans will be moving into a new stadium in the next couple years. Jags are totally revamping their stadium and will have to play a year's worth of games elsewhere. But, stadium of the future or whatever they're calling it. Bears and Browns are trying to move and do their own thing. And the Commanders are trying to go back in time. And I'm sure there's other situations out there, but, that's just kind of off the top of the head.
We've mentioned it briefly, but with the Rays stadium deal falling apart, and now seemingly the Rays want to play closer to Tampa than St. Pete, you've mentioned it many times. How long before the Glazers raise their hand and say, time for us to get a new building?
Oh, it's already halfway up in the air. They're just waiting for the discussion to get real. They're waiting for Stu to sell the team. And when the new owner comes in and says, I'm thinking Tampa. And then the Bucks will go, don't forget about us. Our stadium's almost 30 years old. By the way, one of the smaller stadiums in the league. By the way, technically too small to host Super Bowls. They kind of do us a solid by giving us the occasional game. Okay, you sure we don't want to revamp this sucker? Oh, yeah.
Because Tampa's a very different city now than it was the last time it hosted a Super Bowl. It really is.
Right. And the last time they hosted when the city, because
I'm not counting the
COVID Super Bowl, but they got Pittsburgh, Arizona, which was the 2008 season. So it was late January of 2009. Oh my goodness. What Tampa is as a city at 15 plus years later. Oh, staggeringly different.
Miller and Moulton. Poll question today is a very simple one. If you were on a team that won a championship and were invited to the White House, would you go? Right now, over 77% of you are saying, of course. 22+% are saying, depending on who the president is. If you miss any of the show, go to Miller and Moulton or anywhere else that you download your podcast to download anything you may have missed today. Scott Jackson, Pat Kirwan, David Samson. The bonus hours next.
Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David. Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you. They're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Sonny, you're talking about the New Orleans tournament in Central Park? Wasn't it Seattle and Cleveland?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this final Tuesday of April. It's my daughter's birthday. Happy 28th, honey. A Fargo baby. All right. When we moved to Florida, she used to tell people she was born on the roof of the hospital. in Fargo because she was born like a week or so after the historic flood and fires that hit the Red River Valley and made the national news. So that was the story that she was peddling. So that's not true. Born in Fargo, yes. 24 hours labor, yes. Okay. Everything else, not true.
So this begins about the month of birthdays for our kids. Then it's followed by the 3 months of moms and mother-in-law birthdays. We have because yours is today, my daughter's is Friday, my son's is the 20th of May. And our mothers and mother-in-law, your mom and my mother and mother-in-law start like June 1, your mom's in late August, right around my birthday.
Right.
And then my mother-in-law is like September 2nd. I know more. I've got your family birthdays down.
Well, I do remember your daughter's birthday. Okay. I don't know Jake's. All right. But I do know your daughter's birthday. Okay. I got your anniversary and I got your daughter's birthday.
Well done.
All right.
And it took me a while to get your birthday. I actually had to put it in my phone because it's so damn close to Christmas. Who remembers those anyhow?
Trust me. I know. Hey, off the beaten path here. So did you hear the announcement yesterday from the ACC?
I did not.
It was a basketball announcement.
They're going to start playing it again in the conference?
Ha ha! Well played, sir. Well played. So, they haven't been getting a lot of bids lately. And they came to the conclusion they're playing too many conference games. They played 20 in recent years. And now the conference has 17 members? And so what they have determined is we're going to improve our scheduling out of conference to try to help us get more teams into the NCAA tournament. But Mark, the interesting thing is the way it will shake down in terms of the number of teams in conference with 17 teams. So you're going to play 16 of them once and one team twice. So who's your designated opponent? Now, for some, it's easy. For Miami, it's Florida State. For Duke, it's North Carolina. But for Pitt and Syracuse will likely play twice. Okay. They're former Big East rivals. Both will probably like that. My guess is Cal and Stanford will play twice, right? Home and home would make sense. But they're thinking North Carolina State and Wake Forest will do the home and home. They're thinking Clemson and Georgia Tech will do the home and home. They're thinking Boston College and Notre Dame will do the home and home.
Virginia and Maryland. Oh, that's right. Maryland's in the Big Ten.
Right. Okay. SMU and Louisville. And obviously Virginia and Virginia Tech. So, but that's apparently what the conference is going to do here. And they're going to do it, if not immediately, maybe in a year's time. But it's all because they're tired of getting fewer teams in the tournament. And they feel they have to schedule out of conference to improve their, resume to try to get more bids. So look for that.
Yesterday in Buffalo was a great day for sports talk radio. And I'm not joking when I say that. You may have heard the clip by now that Bills GM Brandon Beane called in to the Jeremy and Joe show and berated them. Ripped them apart. Started with you guys were blanking in 2018 about Josh Allen. You guys wanted Josh Rosen. Now you guys are that we don't have a receiver. We just scored 30 points in a row for 8 straight games. Our job is to score points and win games. Where do we need to get better? Defense. Our job is not fantasy football to trot out the best receivers. Our job is to score points. It doesn't matter what receivers or what quarterback. If you score points at the level we scored, that is winning football. I love every part about this story. And why do you say that I think it's a great day for sports talk radio? When a general manager calls in to berate the two hosts about what they think. You know why it was a great day? Because you know who was listening to sports talk radio on their way to work? The Bills GM. If you're the host, even if you got laid out by the GM, he's listening to your show. So why wouldn't the rest of the football fans in Buffalo want to listen to your show? You obviously have the ear of the general manager. They're paying attention.
So
I thought about that all day yesterday. If we got the new Jags GM on, because I'm critical of their pick, he would be able to tell me that I'm a dumbass, and he'd be right in so many respects. But I thought it was great that the GM called. I thought it was great that he let him have it and used historical facts to tell them when they were wrong 7 years ago. I loved everything about it.
Now, I do need to ask a question. So he wasn't scheduled to be on the show and he was sitting on hold. Okay, he was driving in and listening and called in.
That's
Okay.
the way I took it. But he may have been on hold because
I just saw the one reference that you alluded to in which he said, while I was sitting here listening to you guys. And so I didn't know, was he on hold? Okay. Or was he driving in and I'm sitting here listening to you guys?
David, either way, because if he was on hold as the next interview and they're bashing the picks he made, that's onions.
It is.
Of the host.
It is.
It's one thing to say, hey, when we come back, Brandon Beane's going to be on the show and I'm going to ask him about the draft and where I disagree. It's another to sit there and say he did everything wrong and he's sitting on hold.
Right. Well, I love it also for the bigger reason, and this is selfish, but you and I want more transparency. We want the coaches and the general managers to be challenged more by media and defend themselves. Because who are you talking to? And I know he directed it at the two hosts, but he's talking to his fan base. I mean, that's who he's reaching here. He's talking to his fan base. Do I think Jera does too many interviews? Absolutely. Okay, but if the choice is Jera doing a weekly hit and then talking after every game, or the GMs who literally talk in training camp and then at the end of the season, I'll take Jera. And I think you as a fan would take it too, wouldn't you?
I would hope so. But I thought that was great radio, first and foremost.
Yep.
And it lets you know that they're listening. We're a tiny little show that's grown over the years. When we did more local, because we were just on in the 239, we knew we were on in a few front offices of minor league teams and college teams.
Sure.
It never stopped us from approaching the show the way that we approach it. Hell, it might have been to my detriment because of the way in which I bashed the minor league baseball team and will continue to do so until they change their name to something that sounds more Southwest Florida. I'll die on that hill. You know that, Dave.
And that's fine. We all have hills that we'll die on. Okay. And I have no problem with you dying on that hill because I know they're not going to change it. And unless they get new owners, and the new owners may think like you and go, what the hell is this? All right, I'm going to change this. Why don't we have another contest? But I'm with you. I loved everything about it. And I got to side with the general manager more on this. I mean, what kept them from going to the Super Bowl? Now, converting a fourth and a foot, but they scored enough points to win that game. The Chiefs were struggling to score on everybody. How many points did the Chiefs score in the AFC title game? 30 what? I mean, that's the reason Buffalo. DeMar Hamlin should not be starting in this league. Amazing story. We're all incredibly grateful he's alive. He wasn't really a starter before he nearly died on the field in Cincinnati. He's certainly not a starter since, but they had to play him last year because for cap reasons, they let guys go. They need to upgrade their defense. They need some of the people they've drafted in the past to make some damn plays. And I'm talking to you, Greg Rousseau.
So just, I enjoyed the hell out of that yesterday. We've talked a lot of draft with Pat Kirwan today. We even jumped into the Bill Belichick interview with David Samson earlier in the show. And we talked a little bit of the Washington sports scene, specifically the Commanders with Scott Jackson. I probably, I looked down his timeline, not a lot of Caps comments out of Scott. I was going to go Caps and Ovechkin on him and the pressure that may be on, but going through 6 days of his timeline and not seeing any Capitals comments, I'm like, I'll pass.
Right. And if he doesn't have any of them where he lives, okay, right. We should probably avoid it where we live.
But the Lightning may have lost the series last night. 1-goal lead heading into the third period, a 5-minute power play to begin the third period that the Lightning didn't get a shot on goal. What they did was all on the outside. It was all perimeter. Nothing what you would call a quality chance during that 5-minute power play. Credit the Florida Panthers. Their penalty killing in this series, has been second to none. It's why they're leading the series. Tampa has a great power play. It has been non-existent against Florida. Non-existent.
And yet they were up 2-1 with under 4 minutes to go and gave up 2 goals in 11 seconds and then an empty netter to lose 4-2.
Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when and what's on tap. It's 25 minutes away. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Deadstroke, I think Horford, is a really good player and all that. Those records with the age stuff, I are completely irrelevant to me, because as players keep playing older and older, it's like they seem to come up with a different stat every night that an old guy hasn't done before. Hey, no one's ever gone 35, 5, and 3 before. It's all great. All good stuff. He's a great player. But the age stuff, that doesn't, whatever. But if to you it's a huge thing, then it's a huge thing. Right, Feeney. That's exactly. And again, come on. You have to give the utmost credit for these guys still playing at the ages of. It's amazing to me that they can still play, but they come up with a new stat every night as to, some guy at this age did this, and this. Alex Ovechkin, the oldest guy to make 6 hits in a playoff game. Whatever.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Some final thoughts, a pick or two coming up in a little less than 20 minutes time. Miller and Moulton, a poll question today. We give the appearance as if we're going political, but actually you're going political. We're just asking the question, if you're part of a team that wins a title and you get invited to the White House, are you going? 2 choices. Of course. And depends on who's in the White House. So that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X.
For the record, we would both go no matter who the president is.
Right.
We've only stated that on this show for
15 years.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Like you said, the first time I think we discussed it as a issue was when Bruins goalie Tim Thomas was not going to the White House because he objected to Obama's policies. And we said, and not only that, and Thomas was the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. I mean, he was amazing. It was the Bruins' first title in nearly 40 years. Him not being there was kind of a bummer.
You know what's a bummer? Is that all these Edmonton LA King games start at 10 o'clock at night. Because this series is, by all accounts, a really good one. And I've watched the first period a couple of times. 10 o'clock at night, I'm getting up at 4:30 in the morning. I can't do it. I just can't. And it stinks because you have Draisaitl and McDavid on the ice, and they are worth watching every night.
And it's the fourth straight year these two teams have met in the playoffs. Edmonton's won the first three. Can LA finally get over the hump? Looked as if they had Edmonton beat in game 4 to go up 3-1, only to blow a 3-1 third period lead. Gave up the tying goal with less than 30 seconds to go. By the way, very interesting presser from the LA Kings coach afterwards. Was asked basically, what are you going to do differently because they also had the lead in game 3 going to the third period. So they've blown 2 third period leads on the road here. The game 4 loss more egregious than the game 3 loss. And a reporter asked him, and he said, what are you going to do to stop this? And the coach was kind of incredulous. He gave one of those sarcastic chuckles, and he said, yeah, we missed the empty net by 3 inches. Okay. And if we get the puck out of the zone, we win. He goes, there's nothing to correct here. There's nothing to do here. And the reporter was like, oh, then why aren't you doing it? And you could tell the coach then mentions a couple of guys by name, okay, as to not necessarily making the right play. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, this will be interesting if they lose this series.
John Cooper last night in the post game did not want to talk about the hit that Hagel took from Aaron Ekblad. Turned it on the pool of reporters.
I know.
Any of you guys got anything to say? And you could hear the one reporter say, no one cares what my opinion is on this. And that's valid. We care what the Tampa coach's opinion is, but he opted not to talk about it when, in fact, I didn't see any other part of the presser. That's on me. I was watching Colorado and Dallas. I don't know if you watched more of that press conference last night, but I would be grilling down on Cooper on the power play. Why are you not getting possession in the zone? What do you need to do differently to get bodies moving, get the puck in those grade A scoring chances? Because on that 5-minute power play, I did look, and they had a couple shots on goal, but they were outside shots with no pressure in front of the net. Now, we said this before the series started. The Florida Panthers had the second best penalty kill in the league going into the series.
Correct.
They've proven how good that is during this series.
It is remarkable. I think the Panthers scored on their first 3 power plays in game 1. I don't think they've scored on the power play since. The Lightning scored on their very first power play in game 1, and they haven't scored on the power play since.
That's correct.
So interesting what's going on there. Mark, I grew up obviously watching Rangers hockey, and the longtime analyst throughout the 60s and 70s and into the 80s was Bill Chadwick. And Bill's philosophy was shoot the puck. That was his answer to everything. Shoot the puck. And if you ask a Ranger fan of age and you bring up the name Barry Beck, they likely will say, shoot the puck, Barry, shoot the puck. Because for 5 years, that's all Bill Chadwick said about Barry Beck. But P.K. Subban was channeling and I'm sure he doesn't know who the late Bill Chadwick is, but he was channeling him last night about the Lightning. And this was before they got the 5-minute power play in the third period. And he's basically just saying, boys, shoot the damn puck. Stop trying to make the perfect play. You're probably not going to be able to do it against Florida. They're too good. Just shoot the damn puck.
On the 5-minute power play, they had possession in the zone. Outside of that, it's tough to shoot the puck when you don't get it in the zone very often.
I understand.
So, that's the only thing I would counter PK with, is that you've got to get the puck somewhere where you can shoot it before you can do that. And obviously, the game's changed a little bit between Barry Beck and Victor Hedman running the point on a power play, as to stylistically how the game is played. But the other thing I noticed last night, David, and Tampa ended up with a slight edge in faceoffs. I need to dig deeper on NHL.com because I'm sure they have it. It's one thing to win 52% of the faceoffs, but how many are you winning and losing in the attack zone? And seemingly when they were getting faceoffs deep, Florida was doing a tremendous job of not allowing scoring chances off of draws in their zone. And that's where puck possession's so critical. Tampa gets the power play, they lose the opening draw, bang, it's down 200 feet. They're trying to gain the zone again. And you said it before the series started, and Tampa's done an adequate job at faceoffs, but key faceoffs, they don't seem to win.
Yeah, they did a much better job in games 3 and 4. I think technically they won faceoffs in both games 3 and 4.
Right.
And they were moderately competitive in game 2. The problem was the only non-empty net goal in game 2 was directly off a faceoff for the Panthers. And in game 1, they got their butts kicked off faceoffs. So series shifts back to Tampa. Can the Lightning extend the series? Will there be any suspensions later today and tonight and tomorrow morning of Panthers players? Ekblad for the hit on Hagel, which was not penalized. You don't often see suspensions on plays that don't even draw a 2-minute penalty. Meanwhile, McCullough, is it, right?
Yeah.
The defenseman for the Panthers, he got the 5-minute major in the game misconduct for cross-checking the Lightning player who was already down in a defenseless position and cross-checking his head into the boards. I fully expect him to get at least a game. That was dirty. That's ridiculous. There's no place for that. None.
So Tampa backs against the wall, back at home to see if they can win their first home game in this series to send it back to Sunrise for a game 6. We will find out in the next couple of days here if the Lightning can get that done. Tough one last night for the Tampa Lightning, though. Tampa Bay Lightning. That's that close to seeing it and having it not only thinking you're going to overtime, but then snatched away in 11 seconds. Just unbearable.
Well, and also, and I know we're coming up on a break here, but, think about it. They held the Panthers to 1 goal and then an empty netter in game 2. They held them to 1 goal in game 3. And with less than 4 minutes to go in game 4, they had held them to a goal.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or NolanAgency.com. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, tadalafil, and Viagra, sildenafil are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. Less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American-made, at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, we fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
That's what happens when you make the big bucks, Logic Man. And to only owe for the first time in your life, congratulations. Jeez Louise. That's impressive. Because taxes aren't due until this week in Florida. In fact, I believe it was 8 states that were affected by storms that had until May 2nd or May 1st to file taxes.
Thank you, Nix.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes until we're done. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Seth Everett, among those that will be on the show tomorrow. Best of on Friday, by the way. Best of Miller and Moulton on Friday. Haven't done that in a while. Need to do it on Friday. So hope you understand. Best of on Friday.
Just about to embark on that task after the show. It is my least favorite task of doing the Miller and Moulton show. Been in touch with the folks in Colorado that run our satellite and the directions I have to do that. So I will get that together today. Hope you enjoy it on Friday. And we will be back bright and early on Monday morning. Obviously, shows Wednesday and Thursday.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Today was the day when, brought to you by Game Day Men's Health. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Visit their stores in Naples and Bonita Springs. Mention Miller and Moulton for 10% off your services. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com for more. We go to Australia for the good, where a couple was visiting Australia's Kangaroo Island, and they had their miniature dachshund. The dachshund got away. It was in November of 2023. 549 days later, they were reunited with their dog that they feared had been taken down by a predator on the island. Fortunately, locals found the animal, got the animal back with its owners. For the bad, we go to St. Johns County, David's neck of the woods, where a man was accused of breaking into a home using a large wooden branch to shatter glass on a back door. The family called 911 and hid in another bedroom while police arrived and arrested Alejandro Bazaga. He was taken into custody and he was naked while breaking into the home.
Yep.
So they went to his home where they found clothes and a purse outside and the garage door open. Upon entering the home, they discovered evidence of a large marijuana grow.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they found guns, cash, 22 pounds of mushrooms, 12 marijuana plants, 3 pounds of dope, and more than 5 pounds of edibles. 22 pounds of mushrooms, huh? Sounds like a hell of a night. Can I order a pizza? Finally, the ugly. And I am very sorry if you've heard this story already. I like to give you these stories first. I missed this yesterday. I had it and forgot about it. We go to the Friendly Skies. Well, not the Friendly Skies. We go to Southwest Airlines, and we all know Friendly Skies is a different airline. Apparently, on a Saturday flight that was scheduled from Philadelphia to Chicago, a passenger stripped naked on the flight, and then she dropped a deuce on her seat.
Yep.
The plane was taken out of service to be cleaned. That is the good, the bad, and the drop deuce ugly on today, Tuesday, April 29th, here on Miller and Moulton. You know what I just did? I did it again. I just did today was a day one and did the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's the second time in 2 weeks I've done that.
I know that.
I need a day off.
Well, you'll get one on Friday.
Unbelievable.
Here's my question. When the young lady is beginning to take her clothes off, that's not a cause for concern for anybody? For a flight attendant, maybe? I mean, I'm just wondering, like,
what do you do, though, when the passengers get naked on the plane? I'm serious.
Well, you stop them and you say, can't do that. It's against the law. Can't do it. And if you're going to do it, you need to do it over here. And you escort them to the bathroom. Say, you could do it in here. When you come out, make sure you have clothes on. Or we will land this plane and get you arrested. But I'm just wondering, couldn't somebody have tapped her on the shoulder before she took it to the next step? If you know what I mean. I mean, when she's taking her pants off, it's not cause for concern for anybody? You know, like, what the heck's going on here?
I agree that it's cause for concern.
Okay.
But at what I really don't know. If you touch a naked person, are you going to get in more trouble as a flight attendant from touching a clothed person? I don't know. I mean, you don't see very often the opportunity to have to physically restrain a passenger on an airline.
Never mind a naked one. Right. I get it. Right. I mean, I'd like to think I would have done something. At the very least, I'd like to think I'd go, what the hell are you doing? But anyway.
By the way, quickly on today was a day one, since I just blew this whole segment. 1961 Worldwide of Sports debuts. Aretha releases Respect. It's an Otis Redding song. Today in 1967. We started evacuating from Saigon today in 75. What else on here? The jury acquits the LA Police Department on the beating of Rodney King today in 92.
Yeah, that wasn't ideal.
No. And The Simpsons surpassed Gunsmoke today as the highest number of episodes of any series on TV back in 2018. But it is Willie Nelson's birthday. He's 92. I think we all had the under. Jerry,
what do you think the over-under was? Don't you think it was in the 60s?
Probably. But if you go back and see like the early pictures of Willie Nelson when he first broke into the music business, he was clean shaven, wearing a suit, looking all prim and proper, like what Nashville looked like then. Jerry Seinfeld, 71. Andre Agassi's 55, and Justin Thomas is 32. The rest of it, I botched that. So there you have it.
World War II monument opened today 21 years ago, 2004. I actually have never seen it, which is surprising because I love the history of our nation's capital and have seen most everything there, but I have not seen that. So, and happy 14th anniversary to Will and Kate. Got married today in 2011. You know me and the Royals, Mark.
I only have one word about their wedding. Pippa.
She got really good press.
She had a really good something.
Oh, boy.
Just saying.
Uh-huh.
It was spectacular. All right. It's what's going on tonight. That's the end of that segment.
It's a Tuesday, so everyone's playing in baseball. All 30 teams, all 15 series. Rays are back at Steinbrenner Field with a 5-game winning streak, haven't gotten back to 500. They're hosting the Royals. Marlins continued their series in Los Angeles against the Dodgers, in which, if you haven't seen the stat, the Marlins payroll is only, $406 million less than the Dodgers?
That's correct.
Right.
That is correct.
So basically, the Marlins payroll is just under $70 million, which is what the Dodgers are paying Ohtani. Granted, they're deferring most of it. So, NBA, 4 series, 3 of them can end tonight. Pistons in New York, Orlando and Boston, Milwaukee at Indiana. No Dame since he tore his Achilles. Do you think we see a game 6 in any of those series?
No, I don't. I think all 3 home teams will win. I do agree with Vegas that the closest game will be the Knicks and the Pistons. I am probably most curious about the Magic and Celtics, though, just to see how physical Orlando plans on being tonight.
Oh, I think pretty physical. I mean, they called the Celtics out after game 4, after all the complaining that they're doing. So I think the Magic will be as physical as the refs let them. Boston's an 11.5-point favorite. By the way, the Celtics are on NBA TV. The Boston Celtics are on NBA TV. Knicks Pistons on TNT at 7:30. Clippers Nuggets on TNT at 10 o'clock. The Celtics are on NBA TV.
How about the Clippers being a slight favorite tonight?
On the road.
At Denver.
Yep. So, NHL tonight, also 4 series. Can Toronto put Ottawa to bed? Up 3-1 in their home. Can Carolina put New Jersey to bed? Up 3-1 in their home. And then the 2 series out west, because all the series out west were 2-2 at one point. Vegas hosting Minnesota, LA hosting Edmonton. Split networks. Toronto and Vegas are on ESPN at 7 and 9:30. Devils and Oilers are on TBS at 7:30 and 10 o'clock. So split networks for the hockey tonight.
Best games tonight begin at 10 o'clock, unfortunately. Edmonton and LA and Denver and the Clippers are, to me, the 2 best games tonight. They are both 10 o'clock starts. I would really like to see Ottawa get Toronto and take that back to Ottawa for a game 6 so that the freak out factor of the Leaf fan goes to about 9. Ottawa, other than the first game, has played them tough in every game.
Yes, absolutely. Are you one of those that believe, like my thought before the Knicks Pistons series was, if the Knicks are to be taken seriously, they can't go more than 5 games with Detroit. They can't. You're the experienced team. You're better. You just take care of business. Not saying it's going to be easy, but 4-0, 4-1, and let's move on. Anything more than that, I'm sorry, it's difficult to take you seriously. Because do you think Cleveland or Boston would take more than 5 games to dispose of the Pistons? No, they wouldn't. And so, that's the little litmus test that I had for the Knicks. It's kind of the litmus test I have for the Maple Leafs, Mark. To me, if the Leafs are going to be taken seriously, this is a 5-game series. Well, then make it a 5-game series. Move on. Be waiting at home for the winner of Florida-Tampa.
And I think that is critically important for the Leafs because the minute they lose, if they were to lose tonight's game, then they have to deal with the Toronto media all over them about can they close out the series,
right?
As opposed to having momentum from winning a series in 5 and being able to get a little rest before taking on more than likely the Florida Panthers.
Right. And that this Leafs team is different, blah, 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 as opposed to this Leafs team is just like all the others of the last 20 years. Never mind the fact, do I have to bring up 1967? Yeah.
Just get to the second round and move on. And can the Leafs do that at home tonight? What type of game do they have? And I know 6 people care about Ottawa and Toronto, but Toronto every year has the talent to make a deep run, and every year they fail to do so.
If nothing else, if you're a Panthers or Lightning fan, you should pay attention because the winner of that series will play the winner of the Florida series. So there you go.
Is this season a success for Orlando if they get bounced tonight?
A success? No. They couldn't stay healthy again. They couldn't be anything more than a pimple on the back of the Eastern Conference. Orlando needs to have a Cleveland-like season here really soon. Now, I think they need to go make a major deal. They need more offense. And if they give up some of their defense and some of their young players and assets, I don't know what to tell you. You need more offense.
Worst 3-point shooting team in the league, in a league that's driven by the 3-point shot.
Miller and Moulton. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Happy birthday to my daughter once again. We'll talk tomorrow. Hump Day edition, Miller and Moulton.
Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This is Miller and Moulton.